I'm hitting OK. Showtime. Week, everyone, our program about Google Plus, thus the name, an unofficial look at Google Plus and technology and stuff like that. So our first topic, we're going to, I guess, go to Michael Banks.
Our first topic might actually cover some of those things.
Absolutely. So our first topic is Mr. Michael Banks telling us about his new community he has started, highlighting some of the cool new editing features that we have recently experienced here on Google Plus. So let's go to Michael.
So, created Google Plus photo editing tools community. So, I mean, once I started, this is the first community I've ever made since it came out. And, I mean, there's not really anything other than Google Plus Photo, the profile, to actually focus on photos. And since Alan loves photos, I had to do, you know, we got to talk about photos for this Google Plus week. So, I mean,
we have to talk about photos every Google Plus week because
exactly.
Otherwise, we'd have nothing to rant about.
Exactly. And I mean, it's help. It's community for help. It's community for editing, and there's a lot of photos there that are solely done with the editing tools.
How many people do you have so far, Michael?
42, I think.
Cool. And you started it, what, 2 days ago?
Yesterday, last night, I think.
Okay.
Now, if someone wants to join, what do they search for? I guess they can go to your Michael Banks Google Plus.
Yeah, they could go to my profile, or it's G Plus Photo Editing Tools.
G Plus Photo Editing Tools.
Yep, just search for it.
Okay, what are some of the cool things that you guys are talking about so far?
Missing the text tool, as Alan so loves to point out.
That's
there's a lot of
Michael. Clearly, I'm not the only one who has a problem with that, and that's not even my biggest problem with the editing tools.
You're just the loudest one.
No, I'm not even the loudest one.
Who's louder than you?
I haven't mentioned that as a problem since my first trials with it.
And the other Google Plus weeks we talked about it. Yeah.
Oh well, yeah, but
yeah.
But honestly, that in my mind, that's really not the biggest problem, and it's again in my mind a shame that they're going to fix that and probably not fix any of the other problems that the editing tools have.
We could go down a rant, but we'll keep going.
But why? I mean, that's, you know, we're here to rant. We always do. No, I mean, it's a great tool. Don't get me wrong. You know, I use it. I learn more from it every week. Every week. I think it's fine, and it'll be great when they actually release a, non-alpha version of it.
Well,
what are you expecting different?
One good thing, though, is that the head of Google Plus is a big fan of photography, and in fact, he just shared, I was speaking at one of our topics tonight is this new camera announced by Sony, and Vic Condotra shared the live stream of that announcement from Sony, and he uses these tools. So I think that the team will be eager to fix any issues and fill any gaps in, right? This isn't something that's not going to be noticed if it's not fixed.
This is fantastic that they have a tool like this, and one of the sample photos that Michael showed today, I think, tremendous difference between the untouched photo and the processed photo, and especially with a large percentage of the people on Google Plus, I'm sure, using Android phones with cameras that aren't quite all that. Having tools like this where you can fix them is a big plus.
Definitely. So here's the photo Craig was referring to. Like this is the original one, straight out the camera, and this is the final one. So like, I mean, this week I played with the tilt shift feature in the tool. So I mean, one more time, the unedited one and the edited one.
Nice.
I've gotten comfortable with the tool, and it's not too hard to use.
Well, and it looks like you did more than just the tilt shift. I mean, the
Yeah.
colors, it just the whole thing is transformed.
Yep.
Nice job, Michael.
Thank you.
Excellent.
But no, I mean, the cell phones with very small sensors and so forth are only going to give you a certain level of quality. So processing goes a long way to improve those photos, even if it was taken with an iPhone 5S.
And by the way, this one's taken with a DSLR. And the thing I like about it, because I just uploaded the straight raw image. So I mean.
Also, it won't be long until a lot of people have a fancy camera, like the new what is it, the Samsung NX, that has Android built into it, and Apple may eventually come out with an actual nice APS-C sized or better camera at some point, and on the back of that camera you're going to have all of your ability, to use these apps, and then you'll be dealing with an professional quality picture that you can.
I think most people aren't going to buy bigger cameras. Most people are going to be using their cell phones from now on, and these are great tools for those. You should start putting more up, Michael, that are taken with cell phones so that you can give more typical examples.
I'm sure. I think I recall seeing a few. There's actually a community and a profile that does nothing but mobile photography.
Yeah, because that's really how most people are going to be doing photos.
That's probably how most are doing it now. But
Absolutely.
I still think people want to push the edge and get a real camera.
Most people aren't doing the photo editing.
They're not going to. Most people are not going to spend $500+ to buy a dedicated camera to take photos with. They're just taking them with their cell phones.
They'll spend $200 to take better photos. Because I mean, I've seen a lot of soccer moms, those type people that, hey, I want to take good pictures, but my phone's just not doing it for me.
There still is a big difference between what your camera can do and what your phone can do.
The phones are getting good enough that the point and shoot market is going to die, and what you're going to have is you're going to have the phones, and then you're going to have the few people that are willing to spend $500+ and buy a better camera. But that's going to be what, 5%?
I'm not even saying about the $500 market. I'm talking about the point and shoot market.
I think that's going to die.
I think it's dying, true, but I think it's going to be replaced by mirrorless cameras.
I think it's going to be replaced by
it will always be that price point. There are going to be cameras that get down enough to that price point. I'm not saying they're point and shoots, but I'm saying there will be cameras that are better than a smartphone.
Guys, let me just dial this back a step. I think part of the issue, though, is yes, you're going to be able to have cameras or phones or whatever that are taking pretty good pictures. The problem is you're not going to have a lot of people doing the editing of them that Snapseed, that this software lets you do.
But that's where AutoAwesome comes in, Alan.
Exactly. AutoAwesome is doing that for them.
Yeah.
And very, very few people are going to be taking the next step. I think that's to their detriment. Sorry, Jody, go ahead.
I tend to disagree only because people are getting more and more used to using filters. Instagram.
Yes.
So they're used to that and being able to take their pictures and put filters on it and change the color, and so
that's a valid point. I think though that people are doing those filters at the time they're taking the picture.
Not necessarily.
I disagree.
Additionally, they're uploading their pictures. When you go on Google Plus, you know that you can upload all of your pictures, and a lot of people are taking advantage of that. So your pictures are already there. You've got the tools. I think it's smart.
I think it's great. Go ahead.
As I say, if you go into the Google Plus help community, you'll see comment or question after question after question. I uploaded my 200 pictures and now I can't find them. So, I mean, people are just taking pictures. I take pictures one after another, hoping one will be good or two will be good or whatever. And then I go into my photo editing and process them or crop or whatever. I don't do it for my camera because a lot of times I'm taking a picture of something I don't have time to sit and screw with the settings on my camera or my phone.
I agree with you, Pat. what I'm seeing a lot of people doing, though, is they'll say things like, the same thing. The 200 pictures aren't getting loaded. But the people who are complaining about, editing tools changing all are talking about it in terms of text is gone. Or, how do I add text to it now? Very few people are doing the decent editing that it requires. When I talk to people who are taking photos
So
with
they
glass,
want to make memes, is what you're saying.
When I talk to people who are taking photos through glass, not one person besides me is doing photo editing of the images that get uploaded.
Well, you got to look at the people who have glass. Come on.
2. That's not that many.
I never do it. I've never used the editor. I think maybe for like 10 seconds I used it when it first came out and said, huh, neat, and then never used it. I uploaded a photo today of a spider that did something in my office.
But
I was like that
at the
too.
gas station.
But you have ADHD. You can't even spend time cutting fruit. So
But
Is this dump on Dan night? Because I want to pile
As
on.
opposed to any other show? What?
Kevin says a bit of a hunt to find the show tonight. I don't know if it was a delay or was it hard to find. I'm not sure.
I mean, going back to Alan's point, I mean,
Hello,
look
Gregory.
Our director of lighting has joined us.
only people with glass are mostly developers. I mean,
No, Michael, no.
Okay, I'll step back.
No. There are a lot of non-developers using it. A lot of people signed up for the If I Had Glass program because they wanted to take photos, and what they're doing is they're taking photos and posting them immediately.
Only people that bought glass. Let me rephrase that.
What makes you
joined
think
us?
that
Is
the
it
If I
Michael?
Had Glass people didn't buy their glass?
I know they got the invite to go up there and purchase.
I agree with both of you. I think here's the deal. It has to be semi-automatic. It has to be like Auto Awesome, but more so, where maybe they present you with 3 versions of a photo, and you pick, and then they say, oh, don't like any of those 3? Click here, and you can pull some sliders around and so forth, and they make it very easy for people to do it. Then maybe more people will do it. But it's got to be just simple.
I think what's
Otherwise,
currently there is a nice balance between the two. It gives the photographer that wants to do those details and those things that option. And it does give you those, Instagram filtered grid layout things where you can do different styles. I mean, if it was more automatic, I get it.
Back to discovery, which is what Google has the biggest problems with, is discovery, right? How do new people discover this? So when you upload a photo, like I say, they should present the Auto Awesome photos, and then at the same time, right then and there, say, oh, by the way, you can also play with your photos. Click here, and we'll show you how, and they walk them through a little intro or whatever. They need to make it fun and easy, and then people will do it.
Question, is it that people don't care about editing their photos, and so that's why they're not doing it, or is it that it is cumbersome and non-intuitive, and that's why no one's using it?
Well, editing photos, I don't know if you've ever tried to do that by hand. I mean, if you're not like some Photoshop guru or spend hours sitting around learning how to use layers and, paint brushes and crap like that, then it's absolutely not intuitive. And the thing that I do like about the Google Plus photo editor, I used it today because I joined Michael's community, is that they have like these preset filters that you can use that add
all of these effects that look like you're actually using film for people who have probably never ever used film.
Yeah, I mean, but it was really cool that it was able to pull out some shadows on a flower that I took that showed like the little veins that go through the petals and everything, and it was really cool. And I just did that with one click. It would have taken me 45 minutes to do that in my photo editor.
So that was fun too, right, Pam? It was fun.
Oh, it was fun to be able to click one button. Yeah.
Here's the thing,
because I don't do that for a living, and I don't enjoy, going through 4 hours of YouTube tutorials to figure out how to create the same effect.
And here's the thing, and I think this is where Craig is right, is that, and mark this on your calendar, Craig.
Craig is definitely right.
Right? Oh my God.
I think Craig is right. They should have a bunch of presets and say, with all of the presets that are in the tool right now, put them all out on the right outside. Okay, and then say, hey, if you want to edit these further, then you can go into the editor. And I think as part of that, they need to have white balance fixing.
I think this is the only time where everyone in the panel will say Craig is right.
It's usually just the viewers that say that I'm right.
Well, we do have some comments from the viewers. Kevin Bryan says photo editing is time intensive, so most people don't want to spend the time, and that's why I love the auto features on Google+. Joshua Hughes says he likes tweaking, and he also says he's addicted to editing photos, and if he runs out of his to edit, he'll start tweaking photos posted by family members.
Did he say twerking?
I think he said tweaking.
Just checking. It's the first thing I've said in the show tonight.
No, I mean, I think the tools are decent. I think, the issue is getting people to actually use them and to publish their photos with them. And I think that's a long haul.
I don't think it's that long, but it is the haul.
Just better discovery, and maybe create a fun little thing that they can click on that it takes them through, like a little animated presentation of here's your photo, the way it started, and here's what we did to it, and here's how it ended up, and here's some things that you could do with it, and have it be just kind of a fun thing. Then I think you'd have more uptake.
Definitely.
So the answer, of course, is everyone should join Michael's community. And the way they can find that, once again, is...
Now, that's not easy to find anything on Google+, you know that.
Hopefully that may change soon.
That's the first challenge. If they can find it, then they're going to be in good stead.
Well, it helps though if someone here says
Alan.
the name.
What was that, Mike?
It's
No,
helpful if someone here says the name.
No, the other Michael.
Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me.
I was trying to be funny. He's showing me pictures of other people. Now, are these people that actually bought it, or are these the people that, went to a conference and got to put it on? Like, I have a picture too.
No, this is a person who's actually trying mine on. I'm not showing the class. This was some editing that I did. I'm showing off my photos now.
Oh, good. What are these photos of?
These are photos of an event I did last weekend with a gentleman named with Bernie DeKoven.
We like the blur. You like blurring.
I like the blurring because, and this is done with tilt shift. This one was tilt shift, because again, it de-emphasizes some of the things that I wanted to de-emphasize and emphasizes the parts that I wanted more. Didn't do it here. This one I think mostly was just a softened effect. Here again, I was de-emphasizing the background. What was that, Michael?
This can be done with the old, editing system, right?
No, it couldn't, but the other one could do. I mean, it was a trade-off.
Yeah. Trade-offs. Got it.
This one does spot focus. The other one could do spot blurring that this one can't do. So, I thought this was a pretty good one, and there's actually some significant editing here. And I think the thing that I like is that I'm able to do edits that, it's easy for me to tell when I've gone overboard on the editing.
Did Google buy Snapseed?
I think so.
It's Nick Software, which they bought, yes.
Its own Snapseed, so in effect, yeah.
That's what Vic said. Vic said that he loves Snapseed.
I liked it too. I mean, it's good. It was a good app. It is a good app.
Okay, next topic then.
Yes, next topic.
Okay, next up. Go to Michael Banks and join his community. And you'll be cooler than you are, and even cooler than Craig Shipp.
His community is called G+ Photo Editing Tools or something like that.
Yep, that's exactly what it is.
You might not be as right as Craig Shipp, though. You can be right and you can be cool, but you can't be cool and right.
Hang on, here we go. There's Craig Shipp. Okay. Next up, you can... I hope this is someone who's here put this in. Is this you, Alan?
Wasn't me. Why would I put in an iOS story?
Make and receive...
It was Michael. It was Michael.
Oh, okay. Thank God, because I have
Yeah.
no idea what the hell he's talking about. Make and receive calls the easy way with Google Voice integration with Hangouts app, iOS confirmed, and Android question mark. I've been doing this a long time. Craig and I often talk to each other, scream at each other, using our computers.
You guys actually talk to each other outside of the show? You actually voluntarily just talk to them for
Sometimes
no reason?
when I am when he walks, he calls me.
But okay, Dan, here's what this story is saying, and it's kind of interesting and significant. Basically, what it's saying is that the Hangout app for iOS now lets you make phone calls by entering a phone number in.
Like you can do in a Hangout.
So listen to what we said there. The Hangout app lets you dial a phone number.
In other words, you don't need to use your voice minutes. They're building in what several apps do.
They're building in
They're
Google
building
Voice.
it into Google Voice into.
Into
So
Hangout.
this is on mobile too, Alan?
This
This
is
is
mobile.
mobile.
This is iOS.
Oh my gosh.
This is the
On
app.
the iPad, look. On the iPad,
So you can do this over cellular and Wi-Fi?
yes.
So you can make a phone call using your data network.
On your
Or your
gold
Wi-Fi.
iPhone 5S.
That's amazing that the
Hangouts app.
carriers are letting them do that.
Craig, could you show us your solid gold, 24 karat?
No, you can't. You know that's not real gold. If you want a real gold device, you need to get an Android.
The golden phone and
Actually,
toilet paper
there's
dispenser.
they did build a few iPhones in China that are gold.
Just like multitasking, true gold. Yeah.
It's like that Eddie Murphy movie.
Anyway, so yes, Craig, the deal is that you'll be able to do voice calls over your cellular network, just like you can do Hangouts over your cellular network.
Well, this
And it
is no
has-
different than Skype.
Yeah, but this is a little different though. A Hangout is with somebody that's, you're doing a Hangout with basically on Google. This is you could call any phone number, right? Now that's just U.S. and Canada, right?
It's Google Voice, so it's U.S. and Canada for free elsewhere in the world for the standard Google Voice prices.
Hell yeah.
It's Google Voice. It is Google Voice. It just happens.
Now
to be
is
the
it
Hangout
different
app.
when you try to call a cell phone? Because I tried to call a cell phone today over in Moscow with Skype out minutes, and I'm sure Skype out would be the same as Google. I'm assuming it would be the same. Is it a problem when you're calling a cell number? Is that different?
It is calling your cell number.
Huh?
It's calling any number. You can call
For
a cell
some
number.
reason, I tried to call a cell phone in Moscow and it wouldn't go through.
Well, that's Skype for you.
That's because of Skype?
It's Skype.
Okay. I'll have to try it on the Google thing and see.
Were
if
you
it
at the
works.
Russian wives site again, Craig?
No, I have a lot of friends in Moscow.
Natasha.
And if you want to meet Bubba and Guido, we can arrange this too.
That's when I forgot to send you a check.
And I mean, they released it. It was updated for iOS, and it's been nowhere for Android. But I'd like to speculate this is because something else has happening next week, where they'll announce this feature. But we'll get into that later in the show.
So we're seeing my only fear as an avid Google Voice user, and obviously an avid Google Plus user, is my fear is that they're going to screw up Google Voice, because like if you're in Gmail and you answer or start a call, then you get this nice simple pop-up that quickly answers the phone or quickly places the call. If you're in Google Plus or on other Google properties, you get the ghetto slow loading new window.
Launch is a whole separate window,
And
yeah.
it's garbage.
Yeah.
So I hope they don't make it completely mandatory that we do the ghetto one instead of the nice, simple, easy, fast one.
You make it sound like Google Voice itself was a perfect app.
No, it wasn't, and it isn't.
It's not perfect, but it's a lot better than the Hangout.
Yeah, but they can certainly make it a lot worse.
It sucks. It
free.
sucks less in Gmail than it does in Google Plus.
It's free.
I'd pay for it. I'll happily
sorry,
pay
Michael, that's not an excuse. It's not.
I mean, Google's free.
No,
They made $14 billion from it
Michael,
this quarter.
None of this stuff is free, okay?
Yeah, we know.
You're contributing your valuable time to this stuff.
I know
That's a lot of money that you're contributing.
We understand the larger argument, but the thing is, it's like, I hope they don't screw up Google Voice.
It came screwed up.
Yeah, but they can make it worse, Alan.
They
They
could
can.
they could make it worse.
But they could also make it better, and it might take them some time to get it better.
And they might shut it down completely.
Oh, that's possibly true unless if they rebrand it into Hangouts.
I don't think
Which
they will because they have that deal with Sprint where every Sprint customer can use Google Voice
Deal's
features.
in. Look at Microsoft.
If they were to shut down Google Voice or close it, that would be a disaster for
As
Sprint.
long as they roll in the other features into Hangouts, I don't see an issue.
I'm going to find out. I'm going to call 1-800-Google tech support line.
You mean Play Support?
Yeah, let us know how all that works
Yeah,
out.
I'm gonna call Google's famous 800 tech support line for all their products, and I'm gonna do it using an iOS device in Hangouts using
It's
Google
Google Play
Voice,
Support. That's what it is now.
and I'm gonna find out what the deal is. I'm gonna get right to the top of this.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's amazing?
Like the investigative
Dan,
reporter you are.
Dan,
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
what's amazing is because it's available in iOS, I can probably call Apple's award-winning customer service and get somebody on the phone, and they would probably help me with placing a call through Hangouts.
What's your Google Voice number?
Maybe you don't really want to announce that on the show.
No, he does. He does. He's not kidding. All right. So that's exciting news. All right. Are we good on that?
We all agree.
We all agree. Okay. Next up is Google stock passes $1,000 for the first time ever. And I posted this, and then of course 1 minute later it was at 996, and I was waiting for the trolls. But they actually finished up, I think, like 1,016 or 14 or whatever it is. So this is as a result of, and Craig will back me up on this, the incredible adoption of Google Plus. This is because of search ads, and they're largely, I mean, that's their Cadillac. So anyway,
Well, no,
But their
let-
revenue's
It's a
not
lot of
looking good
things.
lately.
Let's
They-
let's understand what this is. It's not just search ads. I mean, you know, and this was they released their third quarter earnings results, and Larry had his usual earnings call announcement beforehand. There were a lot of interesting things in that announcement that clearly got investors, or at least the analysts, thinking that Google knows what the hell they're doing.
mobile was a
'cause
lot of it, right?
Mobile is a lot of it. He basically said, look, you know, we're still making money on search. We're making money in other fields. We're making money. You know,
And
that's why.
they're entering into an agreement with Facebook for advertising.
We'll cover that in a minute. But you know, let's finish looking at this. It's not just that the stock went up. It's not just that it went up a few percent. It went up 10%. In fact, it went up 13% in one day.
Why?
That's massive.
But their
Well-
revenue went. I think we cover this every time, and I think it was like it's typically like 12 billion something a quarter, and it was 14 something this quarter. The profit was up. I think what was in the teens, right? In the percentages, the gross and the net was up in the teens. I mean, it's a dramatic performance quarter from last quarter and from you know your year on year on year.
Jody, what were you asking?
I'm just saying, what was it that of all things today, what caused the stock to go up?
It was the quarterly earnings call yesterday,
Okay.
which is, you know, where all of the major institutional investors get on a telephone line with Larry, and the other top executives, and they talk about how much money they made.
Yeah, Larry and I think really what made it go up is the point that Larry actually got on the call, which he doesn't usually be on the call.
Yeah, he's been on the call every time in the past.
Yeah,
Except
he's going to stop being on it. The CFO is going to take over, but he did it this time, and he's good. But it's the numbers don't lie. I mean, they can BS all they want, but when they
Well, but
release
here's-
the numbers,
but Dan, here's the thing.
deal.
These are analysts who will usually, you know, totally make up BS to give their earnings forecasts in the future. You know, so they could, you know, you could indicate that your profits were, you know, at record levels, and if you didn't meet the analyst expectations, your stock will drop 10%.
Exactly.
But the analysts, for some unknown reason, actually thought the earnings call was good news, And I think that goes to, what they were saying in their earnings call was, it's not just that they're making money with advertising, they're making money elsewhere. Their products are, they've got a real set of products coming out. They're diversified, and people are recognizing they're diversified.
And Yahoo's not doing very good. So they got to put their money somewhere.
I think their shares are like in the $50 range. But that's not a fair comparison because I don't know how many times they've split or what their market cap is.
In Yahoo, although
$1,000
they
shares
beat
for Yahoo.
expectations, they're not doing very good. So if I was going to invest in one or the other, I would invest in Google as well.
Yeah, you think?
Well, interesting.
Actually,
Trying
I
to decide
wouldn't
if
now.
I should go to North or South Korea. Could you
Yeah,
help me with
I wouldn't invest in them now, you understand. But if I had to choose between those two.
Interestingly enough, Google also just recently changed the whole search algorithm, and in addition, they hid all of the keywords. So that whole industry, that whole SEO industry now has to evolve to keep up with the whole semantic search and all of the way that the search queries have changed, the way that algorithms have changed. And really, it's kind of interesting because part of the reason why I believe they switched to Hummingbird has to do with the type of search that we're doing now with our mobile devices. We're speaking and we're asking an assistant to find something for us as opposed to in the past, typing in phrases and words. So the search has evolved, and I think that they're incredibly well positioned for that. I mean,
Also, these investors are correct. These investors are long term. No,
Well, at $1,000 a share, I think most of the investors are
speculators?
mutual funds and things like that, rather than
yeah, like the teachers,
individuals,
the teachers unions and the municipal, stuff. Because like I remember when I used to have a restaurant in a mall food court, and I had to get the insurance, $1 million umbrella policy, and I had to name it was Simon Property Group, which owned the mall. And then I had to name like the Florida Teachers Association and the whatever municipal, all these different groups that were actually owners of Simon or major shareholders, and I had to name each of them individually. So if my restaurant burned down or I was sued for, salmonella or whatever, that they would all be individually protected. So these are long-term investors, and that's one thing that Google has. Not only are they putting out these numbers,
long-term investors,
but these correct, but the guys who are buying these shares, I mean, yeah. But
the guys who are buying the shares are not the ones who are setting the stock price. The analysts are the ones who are pushing the stock price.
The guys who are buying the shares are the ones who act. I mean, the purchasing of the shares causes the price to go up. Selling of the shares causes it to go down. But the thing is that Google does these crazy things like Project Loon and Glass and they might come out with a watch and we're gonna solve the world's problems, etc. They're involved in the white space spectrum issue. I think in Europe they're experimenting. They clearly, if you're looking for a long-term stock, they rightly or wrongly are giving the impression that they are in this for the long haul and that they're not short-term thinkers. They're short-term thinkers and they want improvement for the quarterly results, and that's why the CEO is on the call. Now the CFO will be. At the same time, they're thinking, what's next? And that's my favorite line from The West Wing. What's next? And Google clearly is thinking about what's next. And I think that helps them in these situations. And if I had to pick a long-term bet, obviously this is not a penny stock. I mean, $1,000 a share, but good for them and good for all of the employees who have been on this program who work for Google because they all get shares throughout the year. They get shares as part of their compensation package. And it's exciting to see all of them get a little boost. Go ahead, Michael. You were starting to say something before I rudely interrupted you. I was filling in for Craig.
I was just piggybacking off what Jody said. I mean, with the Hummingbird thing, I mean, it shows that Google is doing those, Project Loon things, those extra projects, while still staying ahead in their core product. I mean, search. I mean, I know with the Hummingbird update, they were going more about context, more about having a conversation with the search engine in terms of just searching for keywords. And I mean that.
But it's not all a rosy picture because the other data that came out was the amount that people are willing to pay for for example, banner ads and pay-for-click ads and so on and so forth, these are all going down. So it's not a 100% rosy picture.
And that's why they, again, keeping up with the current situation, are integrating the social aspect to it.
Well, Craig, Craig's got a valid point, but Craig, I think that's why investors were still cheered by what Google is doing, because Google said, hey, the advertising market isn't going to live forever. We've got our exit strategy from the advertising market. We have a way to keep making revenue. Other companies, like Facebook and Twitter, don't have a way to keep making revenue as advertising prices drop.
Bing!
Google is saying, hey, we do.
Hopefully
I
they
think,
do.
and I think in the past, investors have always been saying things like, oh, Google's just an advertising company. They're just an advertising company. They make their money from ads. I think this might be the first time that they've started keying in on, hey, Google's making money from other things besides advertising.
Well,
They can do so.
And as long as Google continues to diversify, I think that they're going to have a winning strategy, because when you put all of your eggs in one basket, you tend to have a limited shelf life, you know?
And I want to squelch the rumors that are out there that they're thinking about acquiring the areaguides.com network as part of their strategy going forward. There's no truth to that rumor.
That's what made the stock go up. No, that's what made the stock go up.
Yeah, it was the rumor that they were going to purchase WarrenCountyVA.com and FrederickCounty.com from the McDermott newspaper group.
That's
And,
right. That's not true.
That's not going to happen. There's no truth to I cannot confirm those rumors.
But guys, one thing that is true is that they are slowly and quietly working into electric utilities. I don't know if you're aware of that, but a lot of what Google's doing is investing in alternative power.
Yeah, they've been doing that for a while. Yeah.
And
Well, I'll
then
tell
they've
you
also
what,
got the car that drives itself.
If they can get us both power and high-speed internet, I'm all in.
This is a big vindication for Mr. Larry Page, right?
In what way, Craig? Or Dan?
Oh my God!
Please.
Sorry.
I know, they're
I
so
know.
similar.
Whoa.
Dear God.
I need a moment. No.
I apologize.
No, this is. I think that under Larry Page's leadership, I think Eric Schmidt was great. I think obviously Larry and Sergey played a role behind the scenes, a significant role, and they control the company. Their net worth is almost exactly the same. I think Larry's slightly more net worth than Sergey, but basically Sergey is doing the future tech stuff. Larry's running the company, and they wanted some gray hairs. When they first started out, the investors wanted some gray hairs in the executive office, so they hired Eric Schmidt. He's still there, but now Larry's taken over, and I've seen more innovation. I've seen more rapid pace of innovation, and these numbers are just crazy good. And I see they're dominating, obviously, search. They just own search. The Android operating system has taken off like crazy. They own online video. I mean, people talk about, if you're looking for a video, you're not going to go to Bing or to
but
Blip. You're going to go to YouTube.
But let's also look at where they've miserably failed, if you really want to go there.
Under the new leadership.
Under the new leadership, the Play Store has been a fiasco. The Play Store doesn't even come close to Netflix or Amazon.
Well, okay, how has it been a fiasco?
It doesn't come close to Netflix or Amazon. And is Play Music doing anything? Nobody talks about Play magazines or Play books.
I know I'm like the edge, don't count, but I love Play Music.
You and
5 others.
Our Android
Yes.
Week, which airs Mondays at 9 p.m. Eastern. Nate love Play Music. I use Rhapsody to go. These things are difficult. If you're used to one thing, it's just like mail. There's still people who are using Hotmail and crappy services like that, Yahoo Mail, which is probably the worst solution ever invented. I know because we've used it for years, and switching's a hassle. I would love nothing more than to switch my WarrenCountyReport.com emails for my whole staff over to Gmail or Google Apps. I'd happily pay because I pay Yahoo, but it's switching is such a pain, and you've got years of stuff in different folders. How do we switch that? I don't want to deal with that for a week. So I deal with a crappy service from Yahoo instead of switching. So it's some of that. Nobody expected them to take over Netflix or to take over, the other legacy entrenched services any more than you would expect Google Plus to immediately displace Facebook, and everyone's going to switch over overnight.
Well, Dan, it would help if they did things right. That would help a lot.
That's a vague term.
Yes, I hope the event next week for Google Play.
Google Plus is a mess. What do you mean? Where do I start? I mean, the UI, the discovery, when people come over and they're disenchanted and they leave. I mean,
if you are an Apple user who's not really that technically sophisticated, yeah, it could be
for
a
most
challenge.
people, for most average people.
Yeah, if you're I think it's 70% males
and they leave and go back to Facebook.
It's male tech geeks with a few females and photographers. I mean, basically, yeah, you're right.
You know what's worse than Google Plus and even Orchid?
What?
Apple social network Ping.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure it was.
But I mean, I disagree. Is that much of a mess?
Well, then why do people constantly come over here, spend a little bit of time, and I mean a little bit of time, and then go back to Facebook and never come back?
You bring up archaic points that have, like, things have changed since.
It's still the case. I hate to tell you, it's still the case.
I'm saying the issues and the frustrations people had back then are not the same now.
You know what, though? All those complaints about, Google Plus is Google's forcing Plus on me. I saw this guy, a mutual friend of me and Craig, Jim, he's a CBS cameraman. He's one of their top guys. Like, if they're interviewing Obama, he's on the camera. And he's flying around the world with the Secretary of Defense and stuff. But New Media Jim. He posted, and he has a Google Plus page, Jim Long. And he tweeted, when's the last time you guys logged into your Google Plus account? Was the tweet. And so I, of course, was very curious about that. I said, I'm on it right now. I live on it. I have no life. Or so I forget what I said. I was being funny, but I was looking at these things, and it was not universal praise for Google Plus on this thing at all. And this is a mainstream guy. I mean, he's like one of the top videographers for CBS News. And he posted this. A, why did he post it? B, it was interesting to look at the responses. And he's a new media guy. His Twitter handle is New Media Jim. So he's pro.
What were the
things.
Responses?
Not good. It was not.
shocked.
It was not a love fest. But it was. I mean, let's face it. How many local people? Like right now, we got Gregory Lewis, who's watching the show now. He's in Front Royal. He's the only local person, right? I've allegedly got 6-figure followers, but there's one local guy watching the show. And then your dad might watch it later, Craig. Maybe Alan's dad, he'll watch sometime.
He might even be watching it now.
Yeah.
Because he hasn't called me. Usually he calls me trying to find it.
Then it makes you send the URL on Facebook.
I have to send him the I have to send him the URL for him to find the show. It's unbelievable.
All right. Any final thoughts on this? Before we could this could be an hour, and I don't. We've already had this conversation.
We did have some comments from the audience. Michael Daniels said they're making money from Chromecast. Craig has a box.
I've got a box right here. I can't find the unit though. I'm still looking for it.
It's the UPS guy. I think he stole it when you propped the door open.
Here somewhere.
When he was bringing your iPhone in.
So you bitched and bitched and bitched that you couldn't get it right away, and now you don't even know where it is.
That's right. And I used it for one half of one afternoon.
It was in the Frederick, Maryland Best Buy. I told him. I said, it's in your local Best Buy. That's the only Best Buy in the entire state of Maryland or Virginia that still has one. Because I got the last one in Winchester, Virginia. And then I said it was right there, and he wouldn't even get off his couch.
But Pam, I got mine, and I tested it. I used it for one half of one afternoon, and then that was it.
Too complicated? You couldn't figure out the menu or what?
What if we threw some gold paint on it? If it was the golden Chromecast.
It's too much of a pain to control it. You got to have your smartphone or your tablet or whatever there to control it all the time.
I have the
it's a
silver
freaking
microphone.
dongle.
I have the silver
It's
microphone,
a pain
and Craig
in
can
neck
have the
to
golden
control it.
Chromecast.
And then if you pause it and you leave and you come back like 20 minutes later, you got to wake up like 3 things. You know, you got to do like a juggling act.
Jody has a comment.
It's
You got to
like
do a juggling act in order to
Hey,
get
Craig,
your show started.
it's like when
again.
our friend Brad invites us to a hangout, like 17 things simultaneously start chirping.
I mean, it's a mess. That thing is a cluster. You know. Raise your hand, whoever still uses it. Raise your hand.
Every day.
I never had one, so.
So,
I don't. Okay, the only reason I don't use it regularly is because I have my television set is connected to my computer, and so it's much
we don't
easier
need a story.
for me.
We don't need a story. It was a yes or no question. So Michael Banks was the only one that raised his hand.
Every day.
Everybody was like, "This is the thing. This is the holy grail," you know.
Oh yeah, and you couldn't wait to get it. It's like, oh my God, they don't even have them in the store.
For people to call Google Play a fiasco, we have
Where's yours, Jody?
I don't know.
Is it in the box still?
No, it's plugged into the TV. Of course, I don't use this TV in this room.
Let me ask.
Oh, but it is plugged in.
Does
Oh,
anyone
that's something.
does anyone use Rhapsody to go and Google Play? Because I use Rhapsody to go because I was a Napster to go, not the pirate one, but when they went out of business and they sold the service or they sold the name to a company and they started a legit subscription music with authorization. So I was a Napster to go subscriber, and then they were sold to Rhapsody. So I'm a Rhapsody to go subscriber. I think it's like $15 a month or something. You can basically download any song and play it on multiple devices. You don't need connectivity. So it's like DRM, and then if you don't pay them, then they all just expire in 30 days.
Here's a
Can
comment
you tell
from
me
Joshua.
if I should switch to
Michael
Google Play
Banks has a
Music?
comment.
Go ahead.
Here's one from Joshua Hughes. He says, Google Music All Access is better than Spotify and Audio.
I saw that, and that's what prompted my question, because I use Rhapsody to go.
It's free 30 days. I mean, you should try it, and that way you can give us a report on it and see.
Okay.
Yeah, by all accounts, it is very good.
Nate
And
loves
that's
it,
why
and
I'm
Nate
shocked
loves the
Alan-
intuitive features, the discovery. Like it
And that's
knows,
why-
Craig is a big fan of Cyndi Lauper and Duran Duran, and so it would find other great '80s groups that
Isn't
Craig
that
could
Pandora?
listen to and suggest to Craig.
Fleetwood Mac. I'm from the 70s.
Oh, okay. You probably
And
like
that's
some
what I'm
CC.
shocked Alan-
You probably had some CCR in your iPod, Craig.
Yeah, there you go.
That's why I'm shocked Alan trashed Google Music too much with the All Access.
I have CCR on my iPod.
I
know what
love
that
some CCR. I can sing the hell out of it too.
And also Boston, by the way.
Pam, I'm going to sing some CCR to you late one night with a raspy voice.
Hey, Dan,
Go for
before we move on to the next topic and before we lose Alan, can you do the Alpha 7 thing before we lose him?
We can, sure. I'm not
I
privy
think
to the
Alan's
chat.
there.
Do you have to go, Alan?
Alan's busy at the moment.
Okay.
So he's already gone?
No, he's not gone, but he's just...
Okay.
Oh, he's stepping out.
Well,
and
when
back. Okay. That's
when
cool.
he comes back, Dan, then maybe we can do that.
Okay, so let's
like-
go ahead to who put this one in, because I didn't, and I want to make sure it's not Alan, so somebody else can talk about it, because I haven't read it. The Facebook ad thing.
That's probably Alan.
I know I put it in.
Okay,
Oh.
Pam.
I mean, I read the article.
Okay, Pam, can you
But I
intro
don't-
this? Because this was put in after my nap started and before the so I didn't see it. Can you
Okay.
tell us the kind of a gist of this, and then we'll all who haven't read it immediately engage in spirited debate about it.
Okay.
All right. So
All right.
Facebook partners with. To
Go
put
ahead,
this in-
Red.
This is a big
Okay.
change, Pam, because I remember it wasn't too long ago when Zuckerberg, the teen king, was his PR people were trashing Google. It wasn't too many years ago. It was right before Google Plus, and they were putting out press releases, or they were putting out emails and reaching out to the various PR people at different newspapers, or or the PR people reaching out to journalists, trying to get them to dig up dirt and write negative stories about Google. And then I remember seeing Sergey and Zuckerberg at an event where their wives were both advocate. It was a charity event, and they were both up on the podium, and Sergey and Zuckerberg were there, sort of in support, or Zuckerberg's girlfriend and Sergey's wife. And then Zuckerberg was trying on Sergey's glass, and I remember thinking, I wonder if this has any kind of bigger meaning, like they're not, like Zuckerberg's not trolling them so much anymore, and he's actually like human. So anyway, the background, I see this as a huge paradigm shift in the relationship between Google and Facebook. So go ahead, Pam, and tell us what this is about.
Well, DoubleClick is owned by Google, and it's their ad buying software. And Facebook Exchange is Facebook's targeted ad platform. And I guess they're going to get together to allow DoubleClick clients to be able to buy Facebook Exchange ads, so that it basically increases DoubleClick's usefulness for the customer by allowing businesses to buy ads that target people's likes on Facebook, right? So what they're, I guess they have to opt into this though, or opt out or whatever. If you don't want targeted ads, then I guess Facebook users are going to have to opt out from that if they even can. But
I don't think you can opt out of it. I think basically, Pam,
you can opt out on Google. I know that for a fact because I have opted out, and you should see some of the interesting ads that I get because of that. But on Facebook, I don't.
Ads. Does anyone not like targeted ads?
I don't want them looking at my stuff and analyzing it for anything. In fact, I don't like the fact that Google Plus determines how I see my stream. So I've had to put everyone into one circle so that I can.
It doesn't.
Bullshit. Don't even.
No. Let me finish. It doesn't determine how you see it. It only determines when you see it.
I don't see
According to what I've been
chronological
told.
order. I don't see them according to the sliders that I set.
According to what I've been told.
If I don't visit one of the people I circle within a couple of days, they drop completely off the radar. So I have to see my stream from a circle that includes all of the people I have circled in order to prevent that from happening.
So as long as you have all sliders to show everything that circle.
Well, they won't allow you to do a subscribe for more than 25 people or whatever. But I moved everything to more, and I'm not seeing, if I don't go click your stuff, if I don't interact with you for a couple of days, I'll never see another one of your posts if I go from the regular stream. We have to interact, and then all of a sudden I see Michael Banks. But if I don't, then I'm like, oh, dude, I haven't seen Michael Banks in like 3 weeks. And then I'll go to your profile and start clicking your stuff, and then you'll start showing up in my stream again, and that's bullcrap. I have 1,000 people I have followed. Yeah, I have to go to each one of their profiles and start plussing all their stuff in order for them to show back up in my stream. I don't like that.
They really should allow you to turn the volume up on people who you want every post they make. I mean, what's the downside to you being able to get every post somebody makes? So let's extrapolate that to this story, because we've gone off track, as Dan doesn't care. But if the stuff that I search for on Google Plus or on Google is usually like interesting Japan memes, or things that are maybe a little raunchy or something like that, and then those are the targeted ads I get. And you know what? I don't need another sex toy.
And you don't want someone like when you're at work Googling something legit.
Oh, I don't
you
do
want
any of that stuff at work.
Right, but if you're logged in,
I'm not ever logged in using my own personal name or my own personal account at work, ever.
Okay.
Mama
for
didn't raise no
for any
dummy.
number of
Yeah.
reasons.
Yeah, for reasons. Yeah,
For many, many legitimate reasons.
absolutely.
Thus,
yeah.
she remains employed.
It's phone only at work.
I'll tell you though, Pam, really, if you want absolute privacy, okay, just post all of your private information on my stream in my account, and absolutely nobody will see it. But post it public in my stream. You don't have to worry.
I see
Fear
your
not.
stuff.
Okay, so does anyone think there's a obviously this appears to be a thaw in the relationship between, or the competitive nature between Facebook and Google, right?
I think it's a good business strategy for both companies, actually. It's all about the money here. It's not about the friendship.
I mean, look,
And I
if
think that
Kim
that's-
Jong-un sent you a check, you'd cash it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you don't care. It's just stupid. I remember we used to print my newspaper at another newspaper, and they got mad because our circulation started to exceed theirs, and they got upset, and they said, we're not going to print your paper anymore. And we found another paper to print it, and these are like city block sized, multi-million-dollar presses with a dozen guys in blue jumpsuits. You know, this is not something you just do. And I only needed it for like, an hour a week. So you sub it out, and my thought was, this is stupid. I mean, someone's going to take my money. We're talking thousands and thousands of dollars a month. Someone's going to take my money. Why are you turning my money down? I mean, who cares? I mean, that's business. It's stupid. If somebody, if your ex-husband wants to eat at your if your ex-wife's new husband wants to eat at your restaurant 3 times a week and spend money and is a good tipper, why would you turn that business away? What are you gaining? That's spiteful and silly. And what's good is when the newspaper finally went out of business and got sold, all those people who kicked us out got fired or resigned or whatever. So I must admit I did a victory lap at that. But that's a whole different topic. Okay, so any other thoughts on the Google Facebook Love Fest that Pam brought our attention to?
It was hard finding stories this week, I'm telling you.
It's sort of like if I get a photo of Craig Shipp using an Android phone. You talk about instant share with no editing. Just get it up ASAP.
I will be the first one to buy an Android phone when they come out with a decent one.
You cannot, not even falling for it, Craig. Not even falling for it. You almost got me. You almost got me.
No, he was intrigued with the HTC One.
Yeah, I went and played with it and handled it and so on. I mean,
Have you played with a
with
Nexus? Have you played with a Nexus?
I
a
know
Nexus
Brad.
4?
And Brad from Tech Webcast, techwebcast.info, I think, is the site. I think Brad bought a Note 2 or Note 3, right? And
I
ended
think
up
it was a
returning
Samsung Galaxy.
Was it an S4? It was an
I think it
S4.
was S4. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he ended up returning it. He wasn't thrilled.
That's because of touchless stuff. But Craig, have you played with a Nexus 4?
No, I have not. No. But see, I want the whole package.
That's the whole package.
I don't
That's
want
what
a
Google-
plasticky
That is
phone.
what Google. That is the phone that Google.
Yeah, but the
says.
hardware is not.
Google is. This is the phone that Google says this is what we expect from an Android, the perfect Android.
I know it's got the pure operating system on it, but the hardware is not Highline. Well, I want the whole package.
Device?
When we get to the Alpha 7 story, I'm going to explain my take.
This is what I
on
want
it.
you to do. When the Nexus 5 comes out, I want you to go somehow get your hands on it.
What I want, I'm telling you what I want right now. I want something with the build quality of this, okay? With every bit as good a camera as this,
You remember the iPhone 4, right?
running the pure Android system.
This is about
That's
the same quality as the iPhone 4 had. This was the Nexus
I
4
don't
when it
think
came out.
so. I don't think so.
It
I
has
had an
glass
iPhone
back
4S, and it's a higher quality piece than that,
I surely disagree with you.
as far as the construction.
I felt both of them in my hand. They both got glass front and backs. I mean, they both feel This is
Yeah, but the other one had that band of stainless steel around it. I just think it's a little bit higher quality construction.
I want you to play with the Nexus 5. That's my charge.
I'm gonna check it out when it comes out. I'm gonna and if it's that's the problem. If it's as cheap as they say it's gonna be, somebody said it's gonna be less than $300 to buy
It's
it.
gonna be about $350 starting.
$350. Okay. So maybe it's going to be a little higher line than I'm thinking. It all depends on the camera that's in it, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, our next story is going to address some of this, I think.
I don't want to compromise on it.
Let's go to the next story.
Okay, so Nexus 5 appears in Google Play Store for $349, but is quickly pulled. So tell us
So
what the description described.
in Google Play, I can actually show you. Right now, if you go to Google Play and go to devices, you'll see the Nexus 4, the Nexus 7, and the Nexus 10. Now, yesterday, for a brief amount of time, you were able to see this, Nexus 5, Nexus 7, and Nexus 10. And the description under the Nexus 5 says, capture the everyday and the epic in fresh new ways. But I mean, so I'm thinking that has something to do with the camera since it says capture. So I'm thinking Craig may have something. I mean, that's why I want you to go play with the Nexus 5.
So you're thinking it might even be 4K?
I'm not. I don't know. But I mean, rumors have it coming out next.
Wouldn't that be
week.
a hell of a name for a phone, the Nexus 4K?
It'd be Nexus. If they were going with the Apple model instead of the 4S, since they came out Nexus 4, it would have been the 4K. Go with the 5C and the 5S and all the other letters they do.
Yeah, but if it shoots 4K video, that starts getting interesting.
I don't know. It could because I mean they built 4K into YouTube, so I mean.
Well,
I mean,
and there is an Android phone out there that does shoot 4K. Which one was it? Which one is it that shoots 4K?
One of them does.
One of the flagship
Is
phones.
that Nokia?
I don't remember now.
It's sad I wouldn't even know
I
that.
thought it was Samsung.
It could be.
Is it the new Note? Does the new Note shoot 4K?
I think maybe it's the Note 3.
It could be.
There was one of them that does.
It's an exciting time as far as hardware, Craig. You must admit on both sides. I mean, iPhone is iOS is Apple's definitely upping their game. The 5S is a fantastic phone, no doubt, and the Android guys are also. It's a race for features. I mean, for those of us who are looking for fancy
guys are staying
features,
mid-range though. They're not going upscale.
Yeah, and
Look
Like
at
the Moto X is a perfect example.
Moto X.
Well, that's because people buy new phones every single year. Who wants to pay $500 or $700 every single year for a new freaking phone because there's the new, it's the new
I
thing?
want the best phone I can get. I want
what I
absolutely
do
the
is
best
look
hardware I can
when
get.
I
You can stick with your overpriced piece of crap, and we'll all dispose of our phones every year, and we'll both be happy.
I'm glad Craig brought up the Moto X.
Pam still got like
Moto X
a
is
Jack
perfect
Bauer phone,
Moto X
little
is the-
feature phone.
I do.
A West
Look,
Wing phone.
Look, it's even got a it's got a
It's got a
keyboard.
slide out, nice
Pam,
slide out physical
Pam, I
keyboard.
kept my 4S for 2 years. I plan on keeping this one for at least 2 years. I don't replace it every year.
Well, most people
And
have
if
a
I pay
2-year
$100
term.
extra, here's the deal. Let's say I pay $100 extra, right? For 2 years, that's $50 a year. That's no money at all compared to what I'm paying for monthly service for the phone.
Yeah, it's the
It's,
dumbest
you know-
thing you can do is save $50 on the initial purchase of your phone, or save $100, or save $250. What I do when I get one is I look what is the absolute best thing I can get, and it's usually about $250, and that's what I get because really it's like a $600, $700, $800, $900 phone, but I'm paying $250 for it. I'm gonna be locked into a 2-year term anyway, paying $130 a month for the unlimited everything plan with the insurance and all that crap. But I'll never buy another phone from Sprint or from a Sprint store. I'll buy it from Best Buy because their insurance is $2 less a month. And when you have a cracked screen, as I do, after 3 months, I'm embarrassed to admit, because it's a hassle to get it fixed. Best Buy, you can walk into a store and they'll replace it and move everything over for free, no deductible. If you use the insurance, I think it's Assurian that you get from Sprint and most carriers, it's a $200 deductible, whereas at Best Buy it's zero deductible, and the insurance is cheaper. So I didn't know that, and some kid in the khaki and the blue shirt outfit at Best Buy told me that, and so that's a hell of a selling point to me. So I recommend people consider. I can't believe I'm saying this. Consumerists will.
You could probably get
kill
your
me for
screen
this.
fixed for like less than $100.
But it's like you got to go to the kiosk in the mall. Nobody here does it. It's this smart Asian dude who does it, and it's like he does it on Fridays, and Fridays are busy because I'm working. I have to pay people. I have to do payroll. I have to do deposit, and I have to get ready for this show, and I got to go to the mall and wait for 3 hours if he's not busy. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. So I've just procrastinated, and frankly, the phone works fine. It's when you have I mean, it's still usable. It slices my fingers up a little bit, but other than that, I'm kind of a tough guy. I'm a beast of a man. Okay, what's next?
You can use it to shave with now, right?
Obviously, I've not shaven. I didn't shave today. Okay, so next up, topic number 2.
We weren't finished with the Nexus 4, were we? Nexus 5?
It still talks about it.
We can still talk about it if you guys got something to say.
What else do you know about it, Michael?
This next topic, I think, talks about it.
Next topic is next day Google sends out a Google Play event. Is that the one you're referring to, Michael?
Yeah, so like they sent out invites to say, come, check out the Google Play event. So I'm thinking this may be the day that they actually release the Nexus 5, because I mean you buy it through the Play Store, and they're probably gonna release some more updates for Google Play.
And when is the event?
The 24th, I believe, at 7 p.m. Eastern.
So that's 2 days after the Apple event, isn't it? On the 22nd?
Yes. I think it was supposed to be on Tuesday of this week too, but I think people.
That's the Apple event.
No, I think October 15th was supposed to be when the phone actually came out.
Oh, okay.
But I think people speculate because of the shutdown and other stuff that they probably pushed it to the 24th. But yeah, the iPad comes out on the 22nd too. So yeah.
Yeah, nobody's getting any news coverage about anything during the shutdown.
Well, the shutdown supposedly delayed the phone because of the FCC. That was the rumor. I guess the FCC was partially shut down.
Luckily, the IRS is back, fully functional.
It seems like they never left.
Well, and the good thing is all those federal workers who we know are not making enough money are all going to get raises.
Yeah, next year.
So that's good.
I will just do, okay, I swear to God, this will be 15 seconds.
Uh-oh.
I just want to make one point to show how stupid this shutdown was. The national park I live next to, 240 employees, 40 were essential, like the cops and stuff. 200 were deemed non-essential, including the PR spokesman. It was illegal for her to check her email during the shutdown, 16 days. They're all going to get their back pay. But they shut the park down, so they won't get any of the revenue that they normally would have gotten, which would be about $1.5 million just in October, their busiest month, Skyline Drive, Shenandoah National Park. So they're losing all their revenue, but they're still going to have all the same expenses. But they're screwing.
They probably have more expenses because they probably also paid extra people, right? Didn't they?
And my drive probably. I mean, just like the parks they shut down, the memorials, right? So wheelchair bound World War II veterans can't go to their memorial. Are you kidding me? And it literally, they had 7 cops there to guard the memorial to make sure no one went on it, and the normal contingent of police is 0. So they actually spent more money to keep people to close it. I mean, it's stupid.
I'm shocked that the federal government would operate inefficiently, Dan.
It's absolutely stupid.
I'm shocked.
I know, but you're a crazy.
I'm shocked that this big, powerful government is like consuming a lot of money and giving us very little in return for it.
You're like
shocking.
But you make Rand Paul and Ted Cruz look rational, so.
That's right.
Let me put the where's the slide I have for Craig? Okay, so next up.
Oh yeah, Craig. This just in. TechCrunch said the Apple employees jokingly referred to the gold iPhone 5S as the Kardashian phone. So have fun with your Kardashian. family.
Absolutely.
Oh, I
love
could
it.
totally see that on
That's
TMZ.
hilarious.
And those little videos, those shaky videos from the paparazzi of celebrities going into clubs.
So Craig, next week,
With Craig's phone.
I expect you to wear a little tank top and some short shorts and show us your moneymaker.
Absolutely.
Oh
Absolutely.
my god! Oh my god! That's a visual I will never get out of my head.
We'll do anything
You
for
know,
ratings.
I'm going to find a picture of a guy in a tank top and short shorts, and I'm going to Photoshop his head on there, right?
And
Look at-
Photoshop a gold iPhone too.
Look at any popular movie trailer from the late '80s, and I
It
think
easy.
the neon decade. Okay, next up, let's go to Pam on this. A feel-good story. Unlike the previous experience we've had with Craig Shipp. Okay, feel-good story. At the end of age 5, Saru Brearley fell asleep on a stationary train in India. Hours later, he woke up miles away from his home and family. It took him more than 2 decades to find his way back with the help of Google Earth. And this was an absolutely wonderful story. And I'll preface this with saying that I lived in India for 2 years. When I was a little kid, like 5 or 6 years old. I don't have a lot of memories, and I was just reaching out. I was chatting with a guy who works at Google in New Delhi. He's a developer for Google there, and we were chatting about food today. And I remember eating curry that is just hot enough to blow a hole in your socks. But I have the fondest memories. I lived in New Delhi, and then we lived in Pakistan, I think Islamabad, and we lived in Dhaka, which was Pakistan, and then the war broke out that created Bangladesh. It was like East and West Pakistan. There was a war. We got evacuated to Bangkok, and I imagine like I had a nanny or whatever you call it, and we had housekeepers and stuff, and I don't know how many of those people lived. Just like I was in Liberia, and I don't know how many people those people lived. But it's a wonderful place. It's wonderful people, and for folks in America who have never traveled outside of the country, it's hard to imagine. But the truth is, this it's like you never hear the story about the plane landed on time. You hear about the plane crash. Most people in every country I've been to, and I've lived in Muslim countries, Christian countries, atheist countries, anarchist countries, they want, they want a wife or a husband, they want kids, they want a job, they want a fence in the house and a dog. They just want to live their lives, and they're not crazy. India is a wonderful country. It's 1.1 billion people, right? It's the second most populous country in the world. It used to be the most, because if you add Pakistan and Bangladesh, it would beat China as far as population. So India is a big-ass country with a lot of people and a lot of diverse languages, hundreds of languages. I wish Shriek were here to talk about this tonight. But it's a great country I have fond memories of. So I just want to get that out, that I think India is awesome, and I'd love to go back someday, if for no other reason than to get some amazing curry and bread that only the Indians can produce. So, Pam, tell us about this absolutely just gut-wrenching, tear-inspiring story about this boy who was lost and decades later found his way back thanks to this free tool that we call Google Earth.
So I guess when he woke up on the train or whatever, he was miles and miles away, and the video doesn't go into how he got adopted out to a family in Australia, but he was adopted out to a family in Australia who raised him. And he, as an adult or whatever, kind of always wanted to go back, but didn't really have the money or the means or whatever to do that. And he finally decided wasn't really sure where he lived, because he, all he remembers are these train tracks. You're 5 years old. I mean, I don't have very many memories from when I was 5. But he decided to use Google Earth to try and check out Calcutta, and then he followed the train tracks back, and he was looking at street views and things like that, and he's like, oh, he had memories, and the pictures from Google Earth matched his memory, and he was like, okay, that's where the station was. And so he decided to take a trip to India and go to the small town where where Google Earth's pictures matched his memories, and he was able to find the front door to his, obviously it was a small village, find the front door that he remembered as his, and he knocked on the door, went around back or whatever, and he saw 3 ladies, and the one lady in the middle recognized him, and she stood up, and he was like, it kind of clicked in his head, that's my mom, and they hugged and cried and all this stuff, and she got on the phone and called his brothers and sisters, and so they had a family reunion, and he's able to, his mom was basically, pretty much, well, he called her a slave, didn't have to slave anymore. So obviously she worked very hard for very little money, and he's able to she's now able to spend the rest of her life doing what she wants or whatever, because he's helping her out and everything. But he goes back 25 years later, and he's doing a mile by mile search, ground level, using Google Earth. And I don't know if you guys have ever used Google Earth. It's really cool. I mean, I love to just play with it. So I just thought it was a really cool story, and I watched the video and shed a little tear and everything. So I thought it was interesting that this guy was able to match his memory to pictures from Google Earth and follow these train tracks back far enough. I'm sure it took a while to do that, but it was pretty cool.
I've done the same thing from my childhood. I was in the 8th grade and 9th grade. I spent Christmas, spring, and I think I was there for 1 solid year in Monrovia, Liberia, right on the west coast of Africa, in a place called Mamba Point, named after the black mamba snake, which is the most poisonous snake in the world, I think. Not reassuring as far as like the tourism industry, but I've done that. I've gone on Google Earth and I've looked to see where I used to walk to go to the embassy or to go to school or to the shops and stuff, and I've looked down there. And then I used to live on Abbey Road in St. John's Wood in London, England, when I was about 18 years old. And we were in an apartment building literally next door to EMI Studios where the Beatles recorded. And so I remember walking out one day and talking to a guy who sold newspapers just, a few feet from our door. And he mentioned that he knew the Beatles, because this was like the 80s. So it was only 20 years after they were there recording. And he said, yeah, he was an older guy. He said, yeah, they were nice young lads. I used to sell them fags, cigarettes. That's the nickname there. And it was just incredible. I mean, to see, and you'd see people like blocking traffic in front of our flat, trying to stand the way they did on the Abbey Road album on the crosswalk. And I've looked on Google Earth there to remind myself of it. And so I can totally see this happening. Although to be 5 or 6, this is a stretch. That's what's news about this, is that he was such a young child at the time that your memories are sparse, from that era in your mind. But this was just I think you labeled this a feel-good story, and I can't think of a more apt description. It's just sort of, wow, this is awesome for this family to be reunited after decades. And what an awesome ending, and it's exciting to see this tool that Google provides for free, and I don't even think there's any advertising on it. I don't know if there is or not, but
I've never seen any advertising, and me and my daughters and I have played with the Google Earth for hours and hours and hours. I mean, I showed them places where I lived in Australia and on Guam and Midway Island and all these places that we'll never get to go see together. And
You used to live in Guam?
Uh-huh. Yep.
See, I've heard the rumors about you and
Jason. My sister was born in Guam.
Now we know the rumors. There may be something to that about you and Jason Salas.
I'm sure he's just going to love that you said that.
That's why he's always smiling when he's on the program with you, Pam. He's always got a happy face.
Yeah, he'll never be on again. You know that, right?
No, he's a good guy. We can't compete with football and barbecue and beer. That's our biggest problem getting him on. So, any other thoughts on this? I just thought it was an awesome, like Pam said, a feel-good story. Not much news there except just awesomeness. Any thoughts on this from anybody? Even Craig can't shoot this down.
Well, it's all these tools that we're starting to just take for granted that are just totally awesome. And you have to sometimes reflect and say, well, this is awesome. I mean, it's like that bit. You remember that comedy bit the guy does where he's flying in the plane. I'm sitting in a chair going 500 miles an hour. That bit. And it's like these things are just amazing, and we can use them all the time for all kinds of purposes, and it's only going to get better. So it's just interesting times.
Great comment from Kevin Bryan on the India Google Maps story. One of the brothers was supposed to be watching him and lost him for 20 plus years. Awkward. Most awkward conversation ever. Yeah. Mom, we're gonna have a problem here. I lost my brother. Yeah, that would be something else. We're joking, but I mean it's obviously not funny. But I'm only joking because it was such a happy ending, and time has passed, and so that's great for that family. That's awesome. I mean, talk about winning the lottery when your decades ago lost son suddenly shows up in your store. I can't imagine anything that would be more thrilling for a mother or a father than that. So good for that family, and good for Google Earth for creating a great free tool that even someone in a developing country can use for free, and find really cool stuff like your family.
Well,
I mean,
actually, he was in Australia, right? So he was with his.
He went from Australia. You said he took
so
the train.
He got,
so what kind of train?
Right. He took
Explain
the train.
the logistics of the train from
He was
Australia.
So he took the
adopted,
train, and they found him on the train, and he didn't know where he was from because it was so far away. He had no idea. I mean, they don't teach you in, the back villages of India when you're 5 years old what your address is, right? So he had no idea where he was from. They couldn't find his family, so they adopted him out to a family in Australia. He grew up in Australia, and if you watch the video, he has a very thick Aussie accent. So
I saw that. I
he
noticed he had an
accent.
Australian accent. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he had no cultural ties to India.
So we have to apologize to
above
all
age
our
5.
Australian viewers for referring to Australia as a third world country.
Developing. He said developing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're probably really pissed now because they've had a day to stew on it because it's tomorrow there. So they're really pissed. They've had 24 hours. Oh my God, you can make these tech geek jokes only on
And
Google Plus shows.
Jody is probably on the horn with them right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah,
In
absolutely.
Tech Webcast.
Okay, so next up, any other thoughts on this wonderful story? Okay, the government reopens, and then there were all these stories about the Panda Cam. And the funniest comment I got was I don't know if it was Kevin Bryan or who, but he said when I said talking about the Panda Cam is going to be shut down, and the government shutdown. I mean, not that that's consequential in any way as far as like people's lives, but I mean, who cares? But he said like they could just run reruns. Would anyone even notice? Let's do a loop, like a 6-hour loop of the Panda Cam, and I doubt anybody would notice. I mean, it was funny, but it had a point. So they reopened it, and it still crashed. Literally, it still crashed. So you guys can't see this, but if I go full screen here, I'm gonna try to go to the Panda Cam. But they finally opened it. But I wonder why they're doing proprietary stuff here. Instead of
it's probably
using
more
like
expensive.
Ustream or something.
Yeah, it's probably more expensive to do it the way they're doing it.
Wait, there's a more expensive way.
Yeah.
Because like the PBS NewsHour is.
So what are you saying? Wait, there's some more expensive.
Oh, there we go. It finally works. I checked it a couple hours ago. It didn't work. So there we see nothing. So this was what all the fuss was about. It's appears to be some brush on a whatever. But the Panda Cam is back, and there we go. I see a panda sleeping and a little panda sleeping. They are adorable. If you've seen them in person, they're not as clean as they look on TV, and they smell like a giant bear. But they're cool. It's a
What did you expect them to smell like?
a peacock.
like a stuffed teddy bear, like he has
Exactly.
like he has in his bedroom.
That's see, Craig likes teddy bears because that's actually a big commercial. I mean, this is adorable. Look at this little tiny freaking thing. But as humans, we're predisposed to. In fact, most mammals are predisposed to be affectionate toward babies of any kind because they're helpless and they need care, and that's instinct. That's why you would, if a baby was falling out of a crib, even not your own kid, you would immediately leap across the room to catch the kid, just out of instinct. It's kind of an interesting phenomenon, but it makes sense. Okay, especially species whose babies are defenseless at birth, unlike a turtle, for example, where the baby can. But I'm obviously digressing even beyond my normal level of digression. Okay, so all right. So
Well, at least you're still on the topic of
Dan,
animals, right?
Absolutely, I'm vaguely on the Panda Cam topic.
Can we do the A7 story now? Because I've got to go for.
Is Alan back, or you just want to do it?
I guess he's not coming back.
Okay, where is it? Is it Is it on the list? Should I move it, or what's the deal?
I thought you said it was.
I thought it was.
If
Oh
it's
yeah,
not,
it's
then
next.
we
Yeah.
don't have to do
Okay,
it.
it's actually the next topic. Okay, Sony announces the new full-frame interchangeable lens camera. Now, a quick background. Craig and I'm getting ready to buy. I have 3 Canon Vixias. That's like if you've ever watched Twit with Leo Laporte, what he uses. But I have an older model because I bought them in like 3 years ago or whatever.
Are they're cameras?
They're video cameras.
They're video cameras. Okay.
Yeah, for video, like
Got it.
motion
Yeah,
picture.
I'm familiar.
All right, so it's similar to what Leo uses for Twit. It's just I have an older model.
Are they video cameras, Dan?
They're video cameras.
Do they shoot video?
STFU, Craig.
They're 1080p's. So anyway, I have 3 of those, and then I have for stills, I have my Canon 1D Mark IIN from '06, which doesn't do video, but it's a nice camera. But I've been shocked at the rapid advancement that we've seen in still and video photography, and basically the merger of the two. And so any camera that comes out now does both. And now we're seeing larger and larger sensors. Now, Craig and I met not quite a year ago, right? It was this summer. We met in person.
No, it was about a year ago because I was headed down to Florida.
Okay, so it was about a year ago, and we met at Cracker Barrel, and he showed me his Nexus 7, and then we did. You showed me your iPhone there, but we did in May, I think we did the Apple Blossom Festival together and the circus. and we did video with your NEX7 from Sony, which is an APS-C sensor.
It sounds
And-
like you guys dated.
Yeah, we
We did
did.
the Apple Blossom
Briefly,
Festival
but
first.
briefly,
It was a yeah, serious bromance.
briefly, but you know Dan, he doesn't stick with anyone.
I'm flighty.
I know.
I'm very flighty. Yeah. So anyway, but
Tumbleweed.
Craig, tumbleweed. Oh my God, that's awesome! Awesome analogy. So anyway, Craig and I covered an event together. He came from Maryland, I came from Virginia, and he showed me his NEX7, which is fantastic. It takes absolutely, I mean, I describe it as like, PBS or CBS broadcast quality footage, 60 minutes quality stuff, and that's an APS-C sensor, which gives them good depth of field. And for folks who don't know, that means like when the subject you're focusing on is in focus, and like the trees behind them are sort of foggy, and it gives you that nice photographic look. So, but now they're even upping the game more, and with these full frame cameras. And so I want Craig, if you could give us a brief what this is about, and second, why you bought 3 of them and then canceled all 3 orders. That's interesting to me as well. So if you could explain that, that'd be great.
Yeah, so we've been waiting for this announcement to come out. There was a rumor that an update of the NEX7 was coming and that it was going to be full frame. And they had that, what's the other one called? The R1 and the R1R, the one with the fixed lens. So Sony already had a very small camera, considering it had a full frame sensor in it. But it had a fixed 35 millimeter lens, very good lens, an f2 lens, and it by all accounts took fantastic photos. But now the rumor was that they were going to come out with a interchangeable lens camera to replace the NEX series, and that's what they've done, and they have a whole new name. It's an Alpha series camera, which some of their other cameras were called Alpha, but they're going to call this the A7 and then the A7, I believe, R for the higher line unit. And so these both have full frame sensors in it, which means about the size of a 35 millimeter old film, size is the size of the sensor. And it's a wonderful concept, but I have a couple of problems with their execution on these cameras. There's 2 models they came out with. One is a 36 megapixel, the other one is 24 megapixel. The 36 megapixel one just has contrast detection autofocus. The 24 megapixel one has a hybrid system that's a combination of phase detection and contrast detection, which is a faster autofocusing system. But the higher line one, the 36 megapixel one, has the best sensor and the very modern sensor, and yet it doesn't have the faster type of autofocus. And also the higher line one has a better structure, has more magnesium in the structure and less plastic than the lower priced one. And so after I placed the orders, I kept learning more about these cameras, and I was just saying to myself, I don't want the slower autofocus, and I don't want the chassis that's not as well made. So the only way you can get the fast focus is to buy the cheaper chassis. And so I decided to just kill all my orders and wait until the next version and hope that what they're going to do eventually is roll the faster autofocus into the higher line body, because I've heard other people complain about this as well. So, but it's got a lot of things that we want, a lot of things that Dan wants. It's got the mic in, it's got the headphone jack, it's got a lot of very good features, and it is extremely compact to be a full frame sensor. The other downside to it is some of the lenses aren't as good as I would want. The 35 millimeter lens that you can buy for it for like $1,000 is an f2.8 lens. I would much rather it be an f1.8 lens. On my NEX7, the Zeiss lens that I have, which also was about a $1,000 lens, it's an f1.8 lens. Now, of course, it's not a full-frame lens. Full-frame lens tend to be a little more expensive. But
Explain
so
for
there's
laymen
just
why
some,
that matters.
well, there's just some compromises here that I'm just not willing to put up with.
I mean,
So
explain
here's
why
the
the
deal.
2.8 versus the 1.8 matters.
Well, the f2.8 versus an f1.8 lens, the size of that aperture opening is significantly bigger for the f1.8. It's not a small amount. It's significantly bigger. It's going to let significantly more light in. It's going to give you even a shallower depth of field, which on a 35 millimeter lens, you want to have a pretty big aperture opening in order to get that shallow depth of field. Because if you have a longer lens, in other words, let's say you had a 100 millimeter lens, f2.8 is going to give you a very shallow depth of field on a 100 millimeter lens, but as you go wider on the lens, you go down to 35 millimeter, you got a wider angle lens, the depth of field is not as shallow. Okay, so to make up for that, you need a fast lens. So it's almost a push. In other words, if you took the f1.8 lens and put it in an APS-C size sensor, which is what I have now, the NEX7, you're going to get a certain depth of field, right? If you take an f2.8 lens, also a 35 millimeter field of view, and put it on a full-frame sensor, the full-frame sensor has a shallower depth of field, but you've got an aperture that doesn't get as big, right? So it's almost a wash. So they're almost going to be about equivalent. And so for me, there's no real benefit to going to the full-frame sensor. Now, it does have a better high ISO capability, so you pick up a little bit there. And so if that's a factor for you, then that's something to consider. But I'm not going to pick up as much as I would if, for example, it had an f1.8 lens. Then
Explain
it would
why
blow
an
away.
ISO. Explain why a higher ISO is better.
There are three things that you can do to get more light into your sensor. You can have a bigger aperture, which we just talked about. f1.8 aperture, for example, is a big aperture. It's going to let a lot of light in. You can keep your shutter open longer, so you can go from 1/100th of a second to 1/60th of a second, for example, would let more light in, right? Or you can up the sensitivity of that sensor, and that's the ISO. So as you up the ISO number from 100 to 200 to 600 to 1600, whatever, you're making it more and more sensitive to light that's coming in, and so you're able to get more out of that light. The problem is, as you raise the ISO and raise the sensitivity on that, you tend to start getting more noise injected into the system. And so the photo, as you raise that ISO, it becomes softer and noisy, and eventually it really degrades as you get to the real high ISOs.
Noisy being sort of like pixelation, like
Yeah, unclear, almost like fuzzy. It's hard to describe, but when you see it, you know what you're looking at. And so, like that camera has a native ISO of I think something like 24,000 or whatever. I mean, it's a very high native ISO. So you can shoot with very high ISOs. You can probably shoot up to ISO 6400, for example, and you wouldn't even know the difference between that and ISO 100. I mean, it's that good. But that's only going to make up for so much, right? For if you don't have that fast glass, you don't have that fast glass. I mean, now the downside to fast glass is it tends to be bigger and heavier. So these are all trade-offs on all of this stuff. But I was just not willing to make that compromise right now. I want to see what they do with the next version and see what additional lenses they come out with. They've come out with a very small selection of lenses, and they say there are going to be more lenses in the pipeline that they're going to come out with. But right now, at launch, they only have, I think, 4 lenses or whatever. And the 24-70 is an f4 lens. My 24-70 that I'm shooting with right now in my Nikon is an f2.8. So again, I'd be compromising. I'd be going to an f4 instead of an f2.8. So, Michael, what do you think?
Yeah, let's go to Michael and see what his thoughts are on this camera or these two cameras. I think does the A7R, Michael, is it reinforced? Is that what the R stands for? Because it seems like it has an extra aluminum or steel, whatever, holder for mainly, for like a bigger lens. What's the deal there?
I have no clue about the R. I'm terrible with names, but I mean, I agree pretty much with everything Craig said so far. I mean, you're not my camera.
Can we put that in the notes?
I think we already got that on record on the first time. It still applies, but I think it's not my camera since I'm heavily invested in the Nikon system. But it's definitely neat to see a full frame camera that's also mirrorless. Because I mean, sooner or later, if they keep going down in price and more start coming out, I may switch to a mirrorless full frame camera that's smaller.
Well, Nikon might come out with one.
Yeah.
The problems is the mount. Evidently, it's problematic to just put the regular Nikon mount on a mirrorless. It's because the way the lenses are engineered or something, you have to be specially engineered to be that close to the sensor.
Yep.
So the typical like Nikon glass that we use and all is engineered to be a certain distance from the sensor. So for example, when I put my Nikon glass on my NEX7, I put the adapter on and it offsets it out about an inch.
Nice. Yeah.
And so all of a sudden when you put that adapter on, now you put your lens on, now it's all sticking out another inch. So you're starting to lose what you gained, right, by having a smaller camera. So everybody says, well, just use an adapter and put your Nikon glass on there. Well, all the weight's in the glass, right? I mean, that's where all the bulk is. So you save some by having the smaller camera body. But if you still put that big, heavy glass on there, you're kind of hustling back to where you were in some ways.
Okay, so we agree.
Dan, what are you thinking about doing?
I don't know. If I gotta tell you, if I was buying I'm getting ready to buy, something, and I would think this would be the one to get, right? The A7 or the A7R.
Or I hate to say it, get an end-of-life NEX7.
It depends. If it's more video, Sony is probably a better way to go.
Yeah, I mean, I do. We have a slightly different use case scenario. I mean, I do. Craig is mainly event photography and videography, and I do. I do a lot of news gathering, and I want to be able to do event stuff. So that's. I mean, it's got the audio in, the audio out.
Okay, yeah. So you need that. Then that's right. The NEX would not be a game in the game.
But there are conventional video cameras that also offer features, like XLR inputs and out that are very intriguing. So I'm considering that. So I'm torn. I mean, I don't know what to do. It's like it's compromises. Do you want the big sensor? Or do you want the Pro XLR input for audio? How much do you want to lug around? You have to weigh all these things, and so there's no perfect solution. Especially there's no perfect solution if you're a one-man band. If you have, a camera guy, and you, and an audio guy, then that'd be the perfect solution if you had an unlimited budget, but that's not real life. And then even if you do have an unlimited budget like Craig does, he's on a what's that thing, Craig, that you ride around?
The Segway?
He's on a Segway, so he's moving around like at lightning speed, so he's got to be portable, right? So it's not just a question of cost, it's a question of what can he fit physically on his person to get the job done. And so you have to weigh all these things. And the same thing would apply if you were a reporter in Afghanistan or Iraq, or what have you, that you have to be mobile and you have to be, it has to be able to be packed easily and fit into certain spaces. And
in some cases, you don't want to stand out. You want to be nondescript.
Right, and that's where this camera is amazing. One good thing about it is that a lot of situations where they say you can't bring a pro camera in, but you can bring a point and shoot or a phone. Well, you could sneak this thing in, and you're good to go, and you can get the audio or video, the stills or the video you need. So we'll see how it goes.
So Dan, a real quick suggestion. I think that for you should definitely get it with the kit lens. You should get either one, really. I don't think it makes that much difference between the two. Because the chassis, the fact that the chassis is not all magnesium on the one, it has a little more plastic on it. The reviewers that have held them both have said they both feel very good. They're both very well made. So I don't think that's going to make a big difference. I think the 24 megapixel with the faster focus is definitely an advantage for you. But here's the deal. If you get that camera, you can slowly build out your system. If you get the one with the kit lens, you can start with that. Then you can buy that adapter to put on the top to hook the XLRs to and all that, and get yourself a bracket with some extra lights and bells and whistles and so forth, so that when you're doing that standing interview shot and all that, it can look pretty awesome. And if you have a decent lens on it with like a lens hood and stuff, all of a sudden the camera starts looking more awesome. And if you bought that grip, that extra battery grip thing that they have that you can bolt on the bottom,
Yep.
that's going to all of a sudden make it look like more like a full-size DSLR. And so you'd have
really?
a modular setup that you could cobble together that would all of a sudden look impressive for stationary interviews and so forth. But yet when you need lightweight, you could strip it down to the basic camera. And so you basically have the best of both worlds. You see what I'm saying?
Final thoughts from Pam.
Can we please move on from Tech Camera Week with Dan and Craig?
Yes. Okay, next up.
In fact, I think that's Kevin Bryan's comment. Next on Camera Tech Talk Week.
Yeah, but he didn't say
Craig
move
and
on.
Dan.
He didn't say
No.
move on. You said move on.
Absolutely, I said move on. I'm like, I understood like the first couple of sentences. After that, I was like, oh my
Well,
god.
that's why we record these shows, so that you can listen to it over and over again until you get it.
Like Google Plus.
Yeah, there's a 7-week course on Google Plus on YouTube. You can watch it.
Yeah, there's a Harvard free course online you can to learn how to use. Okay, so next up is this was interesting. The Breaking Bad. Now we're getting into the fun stuff. The Breaking Bad creator says that online piracy helped the show. He acknowledged that had everyone bought it who stole it, and it was like million plus stole it on these pirate sites. But any thoughts on the transformation of the way
It's just you and me
people
now,
consume
Dan.
media? Oh, it is. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on this, Pam? Because we've seen the revolution. People steal stuff, and that kind of led to iTunes in a way, because they were like, well, we got to do something digitally because that's the way they. But legacy media companies, they're fighting Aereo, and they're still fighting the notion that people want to consume content in the method that they choose, and the places and times that they want to. They don't want to race home at 6 o'clock to watch the news. They want to watch it when they want to watch it. And I just thought this was interesting, and brings up that debate about legacy media not embracing. In this case, he is, but in general, not embracing the method of consumption that people want to choose. You know, sometimes you might want to just listen to a TV show. You might want to, you know, watch something on your phone or what have you. Any thoughts on this? Or
Well, I think that in general, I don't think that the legacy managers or the legacy businesses and the legacy business owners really understand enough about piracy, downloading content, and how that benefits their business. They've never looked into that. It's more like a knee-jerk reaction that they're stealing our stuff, and not what does it really mean for our bottom line. So I think that for this actor to come out and say that, he might understand intuitively that it means something positive. But then again, you know, Breaking Bad is on a premium channel, right? Am I right?
I don't know.
I think it might be on HBO or something like that. I'm not quite sure. You know, that actor's not going to get residuals from Joe Blow torrenting the show. But you know what? That guy might totally decide to consume some other Breaking Bad merchandise or whatever that then benefits. So I just don't think there's enough empirical evidence to state one way or another whether there is a benefit to allowing people to pirate stuff or not. You know, I really don't.
I think that I wrote a video game in the '90s, and these shows I put on Creative Commons, but so I don't care if someone shares it, but and people have, they've they've cut up clips and shared them, and I think it's funny, and more power to them. But if I was investing $1 million or something, then in an episode, and sometimes it seems like I am, but if I were, then I might have an issue with that. So it's a balancing act, and we'll see how it goes.
I think that they make their money off. Well, if it's a regular show on a regular channel, then they've already made their money selling the ad revenues, and they will sell box sets and DVDs and all this stuff because the pirating community is rather small, comparatively speaking, when you're talking their normal audience. And we talk about it on social media. I mean, all you have to do is type in Breaking Bad, and they talk about it, and they talk about it, and then people are like, oh, where can I get it? And I've never seen one. And is it really as good as you're saying? And I got to check this out. And the mainstream consumer is also going to see that on Facebook and Google Plus and MySpace and wherever else they are, and that does help business. The techie geeks are the ones talking about it on social media, and they're talking to the mainstream consumers. So I do think that there is a return on investment there. You know what I mean? I just don't think it's measurable. It has to be a good show, and it has to be something that clicks with the people who would be pirating it. and it has to click enough for them to then go out and give it free advertising out on Google Plus and Facebook. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess it's a pro and a con. I mean,
Like Doctor Who. Everyone talks about Doctor Who this, Doctor Who that, and there's people dressing up as Daleks for Halloween, and there's Dalek cakes and cupcakes and T-shirts and people making up all this stuff. And I tell you what, I've never seen not one episode, and I don't have a plan to see one episode. But the geeks here on Google Plus seem to think it's the most fantastic thing since sliced bread. And is that good?
it creates a buzz,
it's good.
but
It's complete free advertising.
it's the argument between getting free buzz and monetizing, and does one affect the other? And I think that I just thought it was interesting that the guy actually said that the pirating helped create the buzz for the show, because it was kind of an obscure show, about this guy.
A chemistry
Creates a meth
teacher
lab.
that becomes a meth dealer. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it just blew up.
Yep.
But because of the theme, I guess we're not going to see all the same Walmart stand-up merchandising things that we see for Duck Dynasty, because obviously a meth lab isn't something a retailer would openly endorse. But killing ducks is fine. Okay, next up, Amazon, and I know you have thoughts on this, Pam. Amazon workers, apparently there are security checkpoints to get in and out of Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not spying on your way in, and you're not stealing anything on your way out.
Mm-hmm.
And they can go up to 20 or 30 minutes on a bad day. And so these workers, who I guess make like $10 an hour or something? I don't know.
Yeah.
There's someone has launched a lawsuit, and frankly, I think that they have a point. If you're required to sit in a line for 30 minutes to leave your workplace, and you're at that pay level, then you're clearly not a manager type who's exempt from overtime.
If you sign out, or if you clock out, or whatever, and you have to then commute home for an hour and a half, no one is suing their jobs to travel to and from work. It is the nature of the job. You knew you were going to be searched. That's part of them hiring you. You knew it was going to happen. And that's just the nature of the job. And no, I don't think that they should be paid, but at the same time, I don't think that they should be docked for coming in late because they have to wait in line because Amazon can't manage the lines. So I see both sides.
I think this is different. If you choose to get a job that is hours away, then you understand that your commute time is uncompensated. But if you're literally physically trapped in the building behind armed guards and can't leave and have to wait 30 minutes because of a very rare Amazon inefficiency,
so
that's
I
a
used
different situation,
So
especially when you're not a manager. You're an hourly employee making $10 an hour.
So I used to work for as a security person for Hughes in San Diego, and it was their technology building in Carlsbad, and I was their point of contact when they came into the building, and then I was, of course, their point of contact leaving the building, and I also created security badges and did background checks. And I have to tell you, we searched everyone coming in and we searched everyone going out. Now, we didn't have 10,000 employees or anything like that, and most of the workers at Hughes are not hourly, so they came in at staggered times. So we rarely got lines, but occasionally we did, because as you leave the building, the search is a little more comprehensive than it is coming into the building. So we would have to do extensive searches of all of their belongings and things like that. And sometimes it took 10, 15 minutes for someone to get out of the building. And that's just the way it was, you know. Amazon can do several things to mitigate this, and they should. Some of the things that they could do is to stagger work times, hire more people to do the searching, and they could require their employees to bring their items to work in clear plastic, which cuts down on the search time. So if everything is see-through, then you can see what's in the lunchbox and the purse and all that other stuff. And if that's the condition of employment, then that's the condition of employment. But if they really don't trust their workers that much, you know, Amazon might have a different problem, right? So
now, we can disagree on the merits of the lawsuit, but we both agree that Amazon will likely lose, right?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next up, and this is kind of an ethical topic, New Mexico. The title here is New Mexico weighs slaughter of wild horses.
I thought it was Mexico.
New Mexicans.
Why did I think it was actually Mexico, the country Mexico, not the state? Are you sure it's the state?
Well,
I'm
I'll
just
click
going to
here.
click. I'm clicking here.
We'll
Sorry.
click on the link just to verify the nationality here. New Mexicans.
Oh, New Mexico.
The American
Okay.
Southwest.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, so this is in the United States, and there's an overpopulation of horses, and so they're weighing. I guess what they're doing now is they're shipping them wherever to be slaughtered out of the country because it's illegal in the U.S. And their argument is to create jobs and let them slaughter humanely. I love the term humane slaughter. It's like really nice, you know, torture. Humane slaughter of these horses, but you know, I've covered stuff like I joke about bears and stuff all the time and deer, but in town, you know, there are a lot of black bears and deer where I live. So this gets into the class or the caste system of animals. Like if there's a cockroach on your floor, you would immediately step on it. If there's a mouse, you set up a mouse trap. If there's a horse running in your backyard, you take pictures and you're like, oh, it's so beautiful, you know, because it's a beautiful animal. I don't know how to describe this and put this into context, but apparently in New Mexico, there's a serious problem of rampant feral wild horses, and so they want to be able to, you know, process them, slaughter them, whatever you want to call it, and it brings up this whole, I guess, caste system issue, or I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on this at all, Pam?
They have deer hunting season, quail hunting season, turkey hunting season, elk hunting season, moose hunting season, seal hunting season. Why not horse hunting season? You know, I absolutely don't have a problem with it. So unfortunately, you have
So we
the real truth is I don't think man should mess with nature. We have to coexist, and we have pretty much removed prairie lands, and we have relocated wolves, and we have done all these artificial things to either kill off or bring back or protect or counteract or whatever. You know, we have this little bug that eats all the citrus fruit, so we bring in this other bug from some other country to to counteract it, and then that thing goes wild and it causes a problem with something else, and so then they bring in another animal that then eats this thing, and then it kills off the native species, and we keep screwing around, and we'll do this and we'll do this and we'll manage and we'll do this, and we won't burn down, we won't let the forest burn, and so now we have these million-acre wildfires because we have managed ourselves into a corner. And the sad thing is that if we don't do anything, the horses will eventually die of starvation.
That's
right?
the problem
They'll
because
continue,
yeah,
right?
they're in a populated area, so there's no natural predators.
Right.
I don't know
And
what a natural
they'll
predator for a horse would be. Anyway.
A wolf, pack of coyotes, if you have a big enough one. I mean, they'll take down a small baby horse. But the problem is that either we humanely slaughter them to manage their numbers, or we allow their numbers to be managed naturally, which is they starve to death. And I'm telling you, if I had a choice, personally had a choice, and someone said, I'm either going to let you slowly starve to death or I'm going to put a bullet through your head right now. If I really had a choice, I would pick the bullet through my head.
It's
because
like,
starving to death can't be that pleasant.
It's not a pleasant topic in any way, but it's kind of interesting that I remember seeing some documentary or something at some point where someone said that deer were considered a nuisance until the movie Bambi came out, and then Lassie came out. Was it Lassie about the horse, right? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I love horses. I think they're awesome.
Lassie was a dog.
What was the horse? Black
Mr.
Beauty
Ed.
or Black Beauty?
Yep.
Yeah. So it's interesting how we rate different species based on their sex appeal or whatever, and that there's no problem stomping on a cockroach, but God forbid you slaughter a horse, but a cow's cool, no problem. It's just interesting that whole phenomenon. So we just ship them overseas where they eat them, and that's okay, but we can't. I mean, it's just crazy. But I'm glad that this story's gotten some attention, so that maybe if some folks want to adopt these horses, if they're looking for a horse, New Mexico would be a good place to get one pretty cheap, I imagine. Okay, so next up, this is a story about the Washington Post. This was just basically just a funny troll story.
You're going to have to give me like 5 minutes. So now that Jody's back, I just got to step out for like 5 minutes.
No problem. Okay. So Jody's in charge. Jody's the co-host. So here's my screen. I shared this earlier, and this was about the government shutdown. It was just funny the way that the official Washington Post Twitter page, and Jody, I apologize, you can't see this, but it's pretty funny. It's in the notes. You can look at it there. So it says, the Washington Post shared this thing, a poll. The more people get to know Ted Cruz, the less they like him. And then this guy, Tim Sloan, tweeted back to them, your days of being the Communist Party's propaganda machine are coming to a screeching halt. Senator Cruz wipes his ass on your rag. And then the Washington Post responded, that sounds very uncomfortable for the senator. And then Mr. Sloan replied, question, have any of you subversives given much thought to what's going to happen to you in an uprising of the people? And the Washington Post replied, we would cover the uprising, and someone on staff would probably ask the uprising's leaders if they want to write an op-ed for us. And I just thought that was pretty funny.
That is funny.
That was pretty classy, epic, coming from, I mean, you wouldn't expect that to happen, you know, from a major newspaper Twitter account owned by Jeff Bezos, from the, you know, owner of Amazon. That's pretty wild. So I just thought that was interesting.
You know,
Noteworthy.
and it is interesting, Dan, because you think of all the times that things like this where you had trolls or people who were making comments and they were handled inappropriately. This was appropriate. It was kind of tongue-in-cheek, lighthearted, and yet to the point. I think they did a great job with it.
But they were formal about it, you know. We would probably ask the senator. I mean, it was just, they were treating him seriously, because obviously someone had a little time to, you know, because they didn't have to highlight this comment. It was just one of God knows how many responses the Washington Post Twitter account would get, right? They chose to highlight this by responding to it and played with it. And so I thought it was I was impressed. I thought it was pretty cool, pretty modern that they did it in the way they did it. And Kevin Bryan, I appreciate Lassie's the dog, Black Beauty's the horse. Thank you. All right. So,
Do you think Craig trolled everyone off the show?
oh no, different people had different things they had to do, so it's a random occurrence. Okay,
Right.
so next up is this. This is actually the thumbnail, the YouTube thumbnail. It's this amazing Halloween costume. It was shared by Riley Burke, a friend of mine from Google Plus, and it's this. It's just this awesome painting. It's a Halloween costume made after a painting. Now, what happened was, for folks who don't know, is there was I'm going to go to this thing here. There was a painting in a church, I think it was in Italy, and it was messed up, or it was in Spain, and so they got someone to fix it up. And the person who fixed it up created this just horrific restoration, and it was so bad that it went viral on the internet. It was a picture of a painting of Jesus, and it was so bad that it went viral on the internet, and people.
It looks three-dimensional. Is it a painting?
It's well, that the look at the second link in the show notes, and you'll
Okay.
see the comparison. But it was supposedly a restoration of the first thing, and it was so bad that people started coming and I think paying to see it in the church. And so then the woman who had done this just horrific restoration sued the church because they were making money from it, or something like. I mean, it was this crazy story, and it went viral on the internet. And my graphic design guys for the newspapers, they actually had this posted on the wall. So I just thought this was hysterical that someone actually made a Halloween costume about this, and that's awesome.
What were they? I mean, I don't understand what the screening process was to determine who the person
I think it
would
was
be.
the cleaning lady, and it was a little church. It only went. It's just like earlier in the show, we talked about that viral video of Chinese food, the 12-year-old girl. They weren't anticipating making a viral video, right? It was by the same girl, or the producer was the same person who made the Rebecca Black, you know, it's Friday video
Oh,
that
yeah.
went viral. You can't create a viral video. It happens, you know. It's a virus. So you create something and you hope it does well, but you can't anticipate which one of your posts makes the what's hot list and what doesn't. You know what I mean? The minute you think you figured out the formula, you're proven wrong. So in this case, it was just like local villagers and townspeople or what have you. But this woman did this, and it was just this disastrous destruction of the painting. But it was so bad that it was funny, and it went
It is
viral.
pretty disastrous, Dan. You're right.
Oh my God! Yeah.
Were they able to resurrect the original?
No,
or-
they've kept it, and they're charging people to see it because it's so bad that people will pay and stand in line to see it, and they're actually making money, and that's what the lawsuit was about. Because the woman who made the disastrous quote unquote restoration, it's just I think it's hysterical that someone made a Halloween costume out of it. Okay, so just a couple more is the Candy Crush thing. The story is that women are spending all this money, and apparently the guy's making literally like over $500,000 a day on people paying for Candy Crush. Have you played it?
No.
I have not played it. All right, so this is a throwaway topic. If anyone's watching, played it, tell us and tell us what the allure is. But there was a funny thing with Fox News Shep Smith demonstrating on one of his gigantic tablets, the Nexus 50, demonstrating this thing, and he said he's
What, the
addicted
Candy
to
Crush
it.
thing?
Yeah.
You know, I don't get it. I know that the games do really, really well, and a lot of people like them. I periodically will post almost like a Dr. Seuss kind of rhyme. I do not play Candy, whatever it is. I do not play Mafia Wars. I mean, the Crystal Gems and Jewels and Bedazzled, and I mean...
Yeah, I'm not going to feed your plants on,
thinking birds.
you know, the farm thing. I'm
yeah,
scared of
farm
Angry Birds because I think it's like buying a lottery ticket or getting addicted to gambling stuff because, you know, I hardly have any time as it is, and I'm afraid to get hooked on one of these things.
I agree with you. I know. And it seems like a time kind of like a void where it sucks all the time into it. Then you don't have time to do other things. But
all right, so here's the next thing, and what you should do is, Jody, you should mute your microphone and click on the link if you haven't seen the Chinese food video. If you have, then just hang out for a second. I'm going to play a few seconds of this, and then we can discuss. Oh my God, this is the Chinese food video, and then we can chat about it.
我宁可现在做个松饼，我告诉你，你就加些松饼粉，可能加个蛋。哎，你今天锁我的门了吗？哦，我们再加个鲜牛奶，500cc 就够了。哎，我的杯子呢？算了，倒进去随意就行了。
After ballin', I go clubbing, then I'm hugging, then I'm hungry, and I'm walking on the street, and I'm getting grumpy. I see chow by my right, ask my food in the air. It's Chinese food, my favorite, so I'm getting hungry. I love Chinese food, you know that it's true. I love fried rice, I love noodles, I love chow mein, I love Chinese food, you know that it's true. I love fried rice, I love noodles,
What happened to Dan?
I love chow mein,
Okay, so
they got broccoli,
yeah, it's the Chinese food
even
video.
chicken wings.
yeah, so all right, what I found fascinating is, I don't know, Pam, you got kids, right?
She gone again?
Is she gone again? I don't know.
Oh, there she is.
All right, do you have any kids, Jody?
Yeah,
They're
I do.
grown. My kids are grown.
Okay, so both of you have kids. So you here's my thing. I posted this and I felt guilty doing it, but I had to. And I said, you know, I feel guilty doing this or whatever I said. But here's my question. Back in the day, you would, you know, your parents would do Super 8 of you, or you would do a, you know, video camera shot of your kids. And it was obviously a amateur video of your kid, and everyone said it was cute. And this guy, and this is the same producer who did the Rebecca Black Friday video that went viral big time. It's the same guy who made this one. So this is what he does. What I find fascinating is that we if it was an iPhone or an Android phone video or something similar, then you would say, "Oh, that's cute," and everyone on Facebook, you know, your aunt and cousins would like it and stuff. But these are sort of look professional and sound professional, but they're really bad. The songs are bad and stupid. And so we hold these, you know, 12-year-old kids to the. I just think this is interesting. Am I right, or am I missing something? Because these kids, these videos go viral. This is a 12-year-old girl, and she made this video, and it's absolutely horrific as far as the song. I mean, it's you know.
Well, you know,
I like
sometimes
noodles.
parents,
I like chow mein. I mean, it's just awful. But are we holding them to a higher standard than we should?
I think sometimes the parents can't necessarily hear the reality of their child's voice because they think that anything that gushes from those vocal cords must be fantastic. And sometimes I think people have more money than intelligence. I have to share with you, Dan, I some of my friends, well, I should say my children's friends, their parents have done the same, they're guilty of the same type of endeavor where they promoted their kid, got them singing lessons, they thought their kid was great, they hired somebody to coach their child, they put together these videos, and they think that this kid has some kind of like amazing career as the next, God forbid, Miley Cyrus or, you know,
but can you imagine how would you feel, Jody, if you had done that? And nobody loves your kids more than you do, right? How would you feel if you were in that situation where you did this and you had this adorable 12-year-old girl, and she made this song, and you thought it was just awesome? I mean, it's what could go wrong? It's Chinese food. I mean, who doesn't like Chinese food, right? And then you get like 8 million shares of everyone trolling it, saying like, "Oh my God, this is the worst video ever made." How would you feel? You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's what they said about the Friday song too, and she did fine with it, right?
Rebecca Black?
Yeah.
To a degree, but she was, I mean, ridiculed mercilessly. You know, her claim to fame was that she produced a talentless video,
right?
But she was on the front. You know, she was in the news.
Well, yeah, but this is nothing new. Dan, what about that? What's that other guy that did that dance where they act like they're on like a horse? Is it William? You know what I'm talking about?
They act like they're on a horse?
Yeah, they Gangnam Style. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's got good beat to it and everything, but beyond that, I mean,
there's a difference between if you look at his size. Videos, you'll see he's intentionally comedic, right?
I don't think so. I think he's serious.
No, I think he's intentionally comedic. I think this girl actually thinks that this song's good, and she's all excited about it, and that's what makes it funny.
I think Sai thinks he's good.
Pam, you have children. What are your thoughts? Because my thinking is, I think the reason I found this interesting, as I said before we went live, is that we hold these. I think it's because of the production quality, the video quality, and the audio quality of this Chinese food song. They're excellent, as was the Rebecca Black Friday video. It's the song sucked, and was stupid. So we would.
How did you really feel?
Would I mean, it clearly is. It's an awful. You know. Oh look, it's chop suey or whatever. I mean, it's off. It's just. Horrifically bad, humorously bad. So my question is, if the production quality wasn't as good, would we hold this girl to the same standards? And would this have gone viral? I don't think so. If this was just an iPhone video, you know what I mean? It would be like, oh, it's a cute kid, nobody would have paid attention. But because it looks like a real video, it looks just as good as something you'd see on MTV back when they played videos. We hold them to that standard. Does that make any sense? Or is technology becoming a dangerous weapon against you doing a video of your kid because it'll be held to some crazy standard, or am I making nonsense here?
This isn't a video of a kid. This is a production, and you know, never in my wildest dreams could I even possibly put together something like that, even if I wanted to. You know?
Why would you want to?
You know, I mean, seriously, he's right. If you look at the video, and it's professionally done.
Yeah, but is that any worse?
The song is stupid as hell, you know. But then again, if you look at the internet, if you if you go to maybe not what's hot, even what's hot, but and look at some of these memes and videos and stuff like that people find good or interesting or that go viral, they're not always, how do I put this in a delicate way? They're not, the reason for them going viral is not necessarily because of their excellence, it's because of their incredibly horrible quality, you know, or the what the hell factor, or what were they thinking, or, you know, that kind of stuff, you know, and it's like, what's that there's a team of people that those Jackass movies, where those guys like torture each other and themselves,
and people think it's funny.
Yeah, hey, you know, no accounting for taste. I don't think it's funny. You know, I don't think it's funny that some guy lights his testicles on fire. I'm sorry.
Come on.
You know, I just don't.
I'm not for that either. Just for the record, if we have to.
But you know what I mean.
If you have to pin me down, I'm not for lighting my
testicles. Why would someone do that? Just to get on the air. And the fact that people will do stupid things to get notoriety, even if it's bad notoriety, is just.
I just find it interesting that we would never, 10 years ago, this would never have. There was no going viral, or however many years ago, and I just think that it's the production quality.
It is.
Makes you judge it alongside a Taylor Swift video and say, "Oh my God, this is so freaking bad."
But
oh
you
my
have
God.
to.
We would never have shared this 10 years ago, Pam. I would never have shared this if it was on MySpace, right?
You have to realize that the cameras are smaller, the software for producing these, editing and putting together, syncing and all this stuff is just so vastly improved that it takes it takes a mere weeks rather than a year to turn something half-assed into something that looks really good on video. And anyone can make a movie now, you know, and that's the paradox of stuff like this, you know. It's just it just doesn't take what it used to take, and sooner or later, you know, I'm going to play Craig now. Sooner or later, the big movie production houses are going to realize that anyone can make a movie that people want to watch. And, you know, the Avatars and the Titanics and all this stuff are going to be out the window because, you know, I don't have to pay SAG wages to my neighbors, right? And it's just, I just find it.
Yeah, and I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, because I still think there's a place for big productions and for groundbreaking.
Yeah, but now you could do it with CGI. You don't even have to have real live actors. You can create.
Yeah, have Siri voices. You know. Yeah. Good point. It's all good. But did you see the comments that we have? I love this one. Kevin Bryan says, Rebecca Black is kind of a cautionary tale. She got hundreds of millions of views, but many more thumbs down than thumbs up, and tons of mean comments. So really, when you think about it, I guess they are subjecting their kids to a lot of derogatory and negative comments.
Yeah,
Which I don't necessarily, let's see. I don't necessarily think that a little bit of criticism is a bad thing, because, coddling your kids into adulthood is never a good thing, because I have to tell you, my workplace is filled with 20-something kids who absolutely think that they are entitled to stuff that they're not entitled. You want me to do what? It's like, you cashed your paycheck. That's not my job. Your job is whatever I tell you your job is. You know what I mean? It's the sense of entitlement and this I am king or queen of my world mentality or whatever doesn't translate into the real world.
It's that seed generation thing, yeah.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with a little bit of criticism, but yeah, putting someone out there on YouTube to get completely slammed by trolls and assholes on the internet, I mean, that's,
I don't think when the parents do this, I don't think they see the downside. I think they think
not,
the glory.
because they don't know what the internet is.
I know, right?
They have no, they're on Facebook with their real friends and all this stuff. They haven't ventured out into the forums and the anonymous comments on Reddit and things like that, where people can be just mean just for the hell of it. They're being mean to be mean.
Peter says, they all agree, no one likes their balls on fire.
On that note, we can agree.
I know.
Yeah. It's a shame Chris Matthews is not here to join us, Hardball host. Okay, so all right, so my final thought on that is I just think it's interesting how this phenomena would not have existed 10 years ago. I don't think this would have gone unnoticed, and it's interesting. So maybe it'll be a good thing in the end. To be paid attention to in a negative way is better than to be ignored, perhaps, in the entertainment realm. So we'll see how that goes. So Jody Raines, how was your Google Plus week?
I had a wonderful Google Plus week. The weather here has been very cooperative. We had an election here in New Jersey, if you heard about it. That was kind of an interesting thing, a special election for the...
What do you think about Cory Booker?
I think Cory Booker has some phenomenal PR agency that he's working with.
Didn't at one point he literally... Someone tweeted him and said, like, how come they haven't plowed my street, and he like went down there and like shoveled his freaking driveway or something. I mean, he's like, as far as social media, he's on it, right? That's his claim to fame. That was his claim to national fame.
Dan, I'm telling you, I mean, unbelievable publicity. He was on, well before he announced that he was going to be running for this election. He had, like you said, with the snowstorm, with Hurricane Sandy, he was out there delivering diapers, tweeting back and forth with people. You're right, shoveling people out of sidewalks. I mean, I don't know that how much of it is accurate and how much of it is this created persona. Because, let's face it, Newark right now, the day that Cory Booker was elected, that morning they said that there were like 3 more bodies that were found in Newark that evening. So it's not a safe city. It's still fraught with all kinds of issues and problems.
Nobody is going to fix Newark in a term. Nobody's going to fix Newark in a term. Come on.
Yeah, but
he's good at constituent service, and he's really good at PR. Clearly,
very good at PR. Very good at PR.
It'll be very interesting to see how he does in the Senate.
The day before the election, all of a sudden, and I'm not sure what faction found this information, but they started questioning whether he actually even resides in New Jersey. So I don't know.
I imagine
Yeah,
an opposition
I'm
team.
assuming he has a birth certificate.
I think he's Hawaiian, isn't he?
I don't know.
I think he's from
Might be.
Hawaii
I
or
don't
something. So, are you looking forward to his tenure? You think it'll be interesting, if nothing less, right?
I think he's positioning himself very nicely to look towards a presidential career in the future. And I think he's following in somebody else's footsteps. And I also believe, I mean, when you talk about his term, he's got really just 1 year, is the end of this term, and then he's got to run for re-election again. So we'll see.
Awesome.
It'll be interesting. Yeah, for the first time, New Jersey has 2 minority senators, Menendez and Cory Booker.
And a minority governor, in a sense. They have a moderate Republican governor.
Right? Yeah. I like Chris Christie. I think Chris Christie is doing a very good job. I will vote for him again.
You gotta like him. He just doesn't give a damn what anybody. He says what he thinks. But from folks, I've covered a lot of. I mean, I covered then Senator Obama, and I've covered a lot of prominent politicians, and I know a lot of these reporters in D.C. because I'm right next to D.C. for my news career. But the folks I've talked to say he's a super nice guy in person. He's very humble and polite, and like he'd be like, "You're Jody, right? How you doing?" And give you a hug. You know what I mean? He's just a super nice guy. But then if someone screws with him in a public forum, he's
Yeah, he does.
He doesn't play. He doesn't play, and I think people respect that. I think people like honesty and sincerity, and no holds barred. This is what I am. I remember Barbara Bush, not George H.W. Bush's wife, but George H.W. Bush's wife, the original.
The older, the senior.
Yeah, she when they were he was inaugurated, and it was one of the inaugural balls, and he said, "Y'all wanted Saks Fifth Avenue, you got Sears." And she just was like, this is what I am, and I like Chris Christie. There's an amazing charm. Just you can disagree with him, but who else would you want to have a beer with than him? You know what I mean? I mean, he's just a fun guy. And
the star that is behind him also that a lot of people don't recognize, Kim Guadagno, who is the deputy governor. She's amazing. Bright woman, really a wonderful role model, very sharp. So we got a couple of good people.
Spell that for me, Guy. What's her name?
It's you would ask me that. It's like Guidino.
Everyone Google Lieutenant Governor. Is it Lieutenant Governor?
Yeah.
Of New Jersey.
Yep.
There are 2 elections in November, next month. One is in New Jersey, which will be a coronation to reelect Chris Christie. You agree, right?
Yeah.
He's no contest.
Far and away. And it's sad because poor Barbara Buono has to do commercials to teach people how to say her last name. I mean,
please tell me you're joking and her name is not Barbara Buono.
Buono, Buono, Buono.
Oh, like
she's the Democratic challenger to Chris Christie.
She's the one who's going to be second place in the gubernatorial race.
She's the challenger.
Yeah, she's going to lose. And in Virginia, it's Ken Cuccinelli, and Terry McAuliffe, both of whom, and I'll do a disclosure, Ken Cuccinelli, he has provided my newspapers with legal advice in the past. I like him, and but so that disclosure there, he's done legal advice for us, but both of them are extremely unpopular, and then you have a third party candidate in Virginia who's at 10%. And it's going to be really interesting. And I was just talking on the phone today with Tariq Salahi, the alleged White House gatecrasher, who is
really,
Yeah, yeah. Um, he called me today about something, and actually, to find we had put because he lives in Warren County, and we've covered him extensively. I like the guy, but he's a nice guy. He was actually taking his staff because he's running for governor as a write-in, and
Really?
yeah. Um, and so he was we had a restaurant review in my newspaper 2 issues ago in the Warren County Report, and he was asking about where the name of the restaurant where it is because he wanted to go there because it was right near where he was. He was at the vet, and so it was just a fun conversation with him. He's a good guy, and so yeah, it was crazy because I was just talking about this in a show, and then one of the candidates calls me, so that was kind of neat. But so there, I guess there's a write-in candidate, there's a third-party libertarian candidate, and there's Ken Cuccinelli and Terry McAuliffe. And McAuliffe is likely, I mean, unless lightning strikes, going to win because he's if you look at realclearpolitics.com, you'll see the average of the polls, and there the last time that Ken Cuccinelli won a poll was in July. It was conducted in early to mid-July, and then there have been 20 polls since then, at least when I checked yesterday, maybe 21, 22 now, but 20 polls since July, and every single one of them, McAuliffe has won without a single exception, between 5 and like now he's up at about 8. So it would be a like cataclysmic shock if McAuliffe lost this election, and a lot of it is Ken focusing, having a history of focusing on social issues that most people don't relate to or care about. You should, in my opinion, you should focus on things that people care about. You should focus on like improving the business climate and helping people, stuff like that, and not so much on victimless crimes like somebody's misbehaving or whatever. Who cares? So we'll see what happens. Pam Adger, how was your Google Plus week?
My Google Plus week was interesting. I early in the week I posted something about posted a picture of a lady who was nude but not covered up, completely covered up, and she was had rolls on her body. She was larger, and I basically said, if this image makes you uncomfortable, then might want to uncircle me. And it was in response to someone else's post, and some of the comments on that post regarding the image that she chose to put out there. And basically that that whole conversation that went on, and there were a lot of shares and a lot of comments, and I went to all of the public shares and commented there and everything. We kept the conversation going, and so that was pretty interesting. I don't think it hit what's hot, but it got quite a few pluses and comments and shares. So that was my big post of the week. And then I've been posting basically humorous, but not necessarily for public consumption, Halloween costumes, and some Halloween recipes and things like that. So it was a pretty interesting week. So Halloween's one of my favorite social media posting holidays because there are people come up with some pretty interesting both food and costumes and party ideas and stuff like that. So I like looking at the underbelly of the internet for some of those things. So that was pretty cool.
Pam, you got to admit that Jesus.
Oh, and I
painting
colored my hair.
costume-
And I colored my hair.
Absolutely, you did.
Yeah.
You're a redhead now.
I'm a redhead now. Yeah.
What's oh my God, I'm gonna get in trouble. Gonna get in trouble?
Sure.
What's brown and red, brown and red, brown and red? Pam doing cartwheels. All right, I'm sorry.
Naked.
All right, so yeah, I've just been banned from Google Plus. You got to admit, as far as Halloween costumes,
I have your phone number. My husband might be calling.
My observations are purely speculative to Mr. Adger. Okay, so you got to admit, as far as Halloween costumes go, the Jesus painting guy. I mean, oh my God, that's awesome. I would love. Can you imagine walking in IO wearing that? Everyone would get the joke. If you went to a typical bar or coffee shop, nobody would get the joke, right?
Yeah, everyone would be cool. Like,
if you went to IO or like whatever, some tech geek, thing, they would be like, oh my God, they worship you. If you went to a Photoshop conference, it'd be like, maitre d'. That's funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, so good for you. And I'm curious, when you are you an active Facebook user?
No.
I mean, do you use both? Or
I have a Facebook account, and I use it to keep in contact with my sisters and some of the people I used to work with. So they're personal. I know them in real life people. I do not use Facebook. I did for a short period of time, and I'll tell you a funny story. This guy I used to live with before I met my husband, in fact, I was living with him when I met my husband, contacted me because I had turned my profile public. And so I did that as an experiment, and he was the first person to contact me, and I promptly blocked him. It was that relationship ended very badly, and he was not a nice guy, and I can't even fathom what possessed him to think that I would actually want to speak to him, even after 24 or 5 years. But still, he did contact me. So I had a Facebook account that I used a lot before Google+, and now I go just every few months. I'll check in and say hi to people and stuff, but I very, very rarely use it anymore. And every time I go there, it's like some brand new thing that I've never seen before. So it's always interesting.
Every few months. I mean, that's
an
indictment there.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I wish my city council would use their page here. They have a page here rather than their Facebook page, but my husband keeps me apprised of the stuff going on in the actual city because he uses Facebook a lot every day. So
what's interesting
he doesn't
to me,
use
though,
he
Pam,
doesn't use Google+.
Well, what's interesting to me is you're not a tech geek.
No.
Nor are you a Hangout geek.
No.
I think this is the only thing you do, and we adore each other. I mean, just for viewers, I love Pam to death. And
actually, I've been on the show almost as long as Alan.
Absolutely, and like you do almost nothing else public video.
I do no public hangouts. I guess I wouldn't mind. It's just that I find them extremely boring without an agenda. I don't know. I'm not one to. I mean, I could sit and have a conversation with you, or with Jody, or with Alan, and maybe, if I was in one-on-one with just one other person, I could do that. But these hangouts where all this random crap happens, and then there's these long pauses, and people are doing like weird things, like eating or sucking on something, or smoking doobies, and it just gets
into a cat. I mean.
Sucking on something.
But you know what I mean? Or, someone like disrobes, or someone joins and they're in the bathtub, or it's just those strange social.
The reason I bring
awkward-
this up, Pam, is that you are absolutely not in any way the typical Google Plus user. You're female. You're not into. You're not particularly into social. I'm trying to figure out.
I'm an introvert. I'm highly opinionated. In real life, I have very few friends because I'm opinionated and honest. And people actually don't ask me for my opinion. Does this make me look fat? Yes.
Dan,
I mean,
Dan, you made an assertion a moment ago that I think is wrong.
Okay.
That Pam, that Google Plus is populated only by tech geeks. I think that may be who populates your circles.
I said 70% male, and the last thing I read said that, and that's what actually prompted my question for Pam, because she doesn't fit the typical stereotype.
It's funny though, most of the people that I have circled that I see in my stream are extreme. I mean, they post stuff that has like code in it. You know, like they're doing Linux code or something, you know. And
like,
and I have
clue.
these like I post a link to a Charlie Brown video that goes wah 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 wah, you know, because that's how
I know
much
they
I
appreciate your you know, when you read their Linux code and you correct things, and I know they appreciate that. But I just find it fascinating that you, who are not the stereotypical what we would view as a Google Plus user, love it and engage in it, and you're kind of a
geeks like sex. And so since I post a lot of raunchy things, you know, I get a lot of engagement on my more raunchy posts, and, you know, that's just the way it goes.
I don't know, Dan, I think you're feeding into the stereotype, and I think the stereotype is wrong.
I agree. I do agree.
Well,
because
I think there's lots of tech people on here, don't get me wrong, but I've got a huge number of people that I follow that could not code their way out of a paper bag and have no interest in doing so.
All right, well, Alan, tell me, beat me up, and then tell me how your Google Plus week was.
You want me to beat you up, huh?
I thought that was my job. I got the writing crop and everything.
Continuing on the Pam theme. No, tell me every way I was possibly wrong, and then
Dan.
Tell me how your Google Plus week was.
We don't have enough. I mean, we started late, so I have nowhere near enough time to tell you how many ways you're wrong.
Yeah, you only have like an hour, so it's not enough time, right?
But beyond that, no, my Google Plus week was pretty good. Not wonderful. I was incredibly busy week. Last Saturday, I attended this event from Bernie DeKoven, and it was absolutely wonderful. It was great. There's a very non-technical person, to give yet another example, who I follow on Google Plus, and so that's kind of where my week started, and it's been a very good week since then. A lot of programming for Glass, trying to catch up and get some of my glassware out there. Other than that, a good solid week.
I'm surprised it's so short.
So what's so short? The week?
Details.
Oh, you want more? You want more? I mean, I also took a lot of photos. I've been doing a lot of photography recently, but we already beat that subject to death, for the past 3 months. So.
Can we talk about ISO some more? and depth of field and other things.
Sure, we can.
Absolutely. All right, so
So Alan, did you actually go out on a date and everything and come back since you left earlier? I mean, you had plenty of time to do that. We're still on air.
Yeah, well, the fact that you're still on air is certainly no surprise. It's not 1 a.m. yet.
Yet.
I was just looking at the time, trying to calculate what time it was.
It's coming up on midnight on the East Coast.
Yeah.
Folks, Google Plus Week is every week at about 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 5:30 p.m. Pacific Time. But it's, you know, if I get my act together, our Android
That's
week.
a big F.
Big F. Our Android week is 9 p.m. on Mondays and 6 p.m. Pacific Time. 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. And we thank you all for watching. And this has been a sparsely attended show. So we'll have to work on that. We'll have to get some more attendees or something. I don't know. But thanks so much for watching. We appreciate it. And we'll see you next week. And until then, have a wonderful Google Plus week.